Hello, everybody. Welcome. Aurora here. This is September 3rd, 2022. And hooray, hello, welcome. I'm so happy for the people that are here that are tuned in right now, and happy for everybody who will be able to tune in later. This is the last class of the beginning 2022 semester, because we will have a new semester starting coming up right away. Super very excited to be able to share this with you today. So as I say in my notes, it's the culmination of a huge, hold on, I'm just changing my camera angle now. Huge parabola that we've been through, parabolic arc that we have been through as a class, as a group together. If I'm looking down, it's because my dog is in her little dog bed right underneath me here. She is the co-pilot of all things that we do. Huge parabola of comprehension and huge parabola of understanding and experience. And I'm always sharing things that are very topical and relevant to what we are going through as individuals and as a collective. It is literally why I started my class almost 10 years ago. And it is why I customize everything that I say every semester. Although I have notes, it's not always the same. P.S. in case you didn't catch last week, I did a PDF of all of the compilation of all of the notes that I did from this year, beginning in January, going through all of both the beginner and advanced levels. And I turned it into what I'm calling the manual for flight. That means that it's everything you can read through that I speak with my voice, because it's really good to have both pathways in through your ears and in through your eyes, and it emphasizes, and also you can find wonderful pictures there. The print costs are extensive. If I were to make an actual physical copy with the full color pictures, it would be like over $50 a book, and then also shipping on top of that. So what I'm doing is making those books available to you via PDF, and also asking for gifts, donations, and voluntary support of my work in exchange for receiving that PDF. And you are welcome to keep it, share it, quote from it, print it out yourself. Thank you very much. And thank you for all of those people who have already so enthusiastically downloaded the material and are incredibly wonderful in sending support to me, because I appreciate it. And also this represents the culmination of a lot of work from January of this year up until this moment now. So what am I going to talk about today? It's level 1, lesson 20. If you are following along with Teachable, hold on a second, Cheeky is barking. Level 1, lesson 20, this is about the future and beyond is literally what it's called. So I recorded this 9 years ago. And I love telling you about what I recorded 9 years ago and then seeing what we are presently going through. And some parts match expectation and some parts do not. And like I said, I'm always customizing and tailoring. So the things that I gave in an idealistic sense in terms of guidance or cosmology or life description that were appropriate for 10 years ago now might be something that requires fine tuning because of the challenges that we're facing. And also I will tell you this, as I've been going through notes and old notebooks, and I'm working on a new project, I won't tell you about it again. It's too exciting, but I will tell you, I've been going through some old notebooks that are literally from when I first walked into this body and first walked into this realm, and was making lots and lots of pictures and drawings in order to solidify and manifest my ideas before I became this complex in terms of making these paintings here, but still very sensitive and amazing drawings. And, you know, I was writing about the fake sun even then, or drawing imagery of the fake sun that I comprehended that that's what that was. I'm bringing this up now in order to encourage you and validate your perceptions on your journey, because I don't want it to appear as if like 20 years ago, everything was perfect, or even 10 years ago, everything being perfect. I feel that I walked into this situation on this planet and in this body and in this social dynamic and energy dynamic that has been challenged and in need of healing. These are nice ways of saying it. Effed up is another way of saying it. And we laugh lightheartedly at all of that. Validating your perception, and also the sense that as our spiritual muscles have grown and we have become more empowered, that also some of the challenges that we've been facing have also been ratcheting up. So I'm trying to say, and just synopsize again, things were not perfect when I walked in here. Things were not perfect in terms of the circumstances that caused the death of the original occupant of this body. Things were not perfect in the sense of what was in the sky, the quality of light that was in the sky, and what type of technological interference is. Basically anything that is trying to come between us and God. So that is really the overarching theme of what I'm trying to share with you in this class, even though I don't call it like, welcome to impediments to your spiritual growth. I say, no, welcome to lessons for full spectrum humans, because I'm always focusing on you are a divine presence. You are a powerful energy being. You have this non-physical aspect of being that is rainbow colored, that surrounds and interpenetrates physicality body. So that's basically the two things that I want you to focus on: your somatic, cellular, miraculous presence of having a physicality in this realm, the matter, and also the pure energy, the energy that is made up of pure time, and the integration of these two aspects of self. You are absolutely a miracle, walking, talking miracles with a lot of unrecognized or unexplored potential. So in the aspect of self-recognition, self-remembrance, self-exploration, God self-exploring God self in multiple different ways, and also having faced many challenges or obstacles on the journey up into this point. And I encourage you, I acknowledge those obstacles, and I encourage you because that has been going on for 20 years since I've been here as Aurora. So it's not anything new. So if we are facing, because a lot of people ask me about the sun simulator, and I will just respond to it very briefly. Yes, there is something where it is coming between you and your divine connection. That is the ancient stuff that I'm talking about, the things that came in terms of language, a flawed operating system, a flawed sense of ego self separating you or oneself from unity consciousness. And then we are in this process individually and as a collective in terms of that reconnection. And it doesn't necessarily mean a full dissolving of ego boundaries. When I talk about flying rainbow lasagna and I say performing this genetic oscillation means your inside becomes your outside and your outside becomes your inside. This is not a full dissolution of boundaries. It is a bringing together of formerly divergent realms, but that is very, very different than saying that you don't have a sense of individuation or you don't have a sense of self. You maintain having a sense of self, you maintain having a sense of your ego, you maintain having a sense of individuation. I am still Aurora. This is part of the miracle of what's going on. And also, you dilate and expand your identity into a larger self-state definition. That is what the activity of flying rainbow lasagna is. That is what it feels like when you're in the dance. When you're in the dance and you're doing that oscillation and doing that vibration, what does it feel like to me? I move beyond this small container package that is named Aurora. And I'm like, I'm Aurora. I wear this dress. I'm Aurora. I have this hair. Appropriate, and I'm responsible to my dress and to my hair and to my brushing of my teeth and all of these caring for the individual. Got it? So this is big in everything that I teach you guys. You know that I'm super responsible. So I say you have to care for yourself as an individual. You have to care for your body, and you have to care for your resources, and you have to care for your immediacy of your environment. And also, when you go into this vibration state that is known as flying rainbow lasagna, you extend that sense of care to many, many other organisms, which include not only humans, but all organisms that are on this planet, the planet herself, and I'm going to get into my notes right now, the solar system, and then also the entirety, the galaxy, the entirety of all of the star systems. And that's really where I come from. I come from that self state. That is where I say, who am I? I am Aurora. I am Aurora in impulse on the self state that is known as the stellar network. All right. So for me to come into a physicality body, I have not given up on that other self state. I am still that aspect of self, and I am this aspect of self here. I'm responsible to all of the stars, all light in this galaxy, really all light everywhere, all consciousness everywhere. And then also I am responsible to myself. So this is part of the balance of the lesson of being here, that each one of us, fractals of God's self coming from these various directions, is learning and mastering these lessons, the lessons of responsibility to self versus, or in contrast with, responsibility to others and to environment. And none of this should be choreful. None of this should be like, oh, my shoulders go down. I have to balance out responsibilities to myself and then to my larger unity consciousness God self state. No, and you can tell from my expression, like I'm laughing at that. No, these are joyful and joyous lessons. And I'm bringing this up also because, it's been a 20-year journey for me being a walk-in. And also it's been a spiritual challenge for all of us, for our entire world and the planet herself for 20 years. That's really, really big stuff to recognize that it's a challenge for all of us as embodied and interconnected organisms being here for 20 years. And that, again, there have been spiritual obstacles to this reconnection and remembrance of self-state as God. for 20 years. And they started out maybe as a 2-pound weight and you learned how to lift that weight. And then you went into 5-pound weight, you learned how to do that. Now we're at a 50-pound weight, 100-pound weight. It's like, do it. But I know you can do it. So again, none of this is different. And then also, having gone through so much of this spiritual weight training program, I also want you to know that being in weightlifting is preparation for actual activities that you do. So all of this has been preparation for the marathon of consciousness, which has to do with coming together as a collective, organizing your thoughts and volitions as a collective, again, Aurora, the collective, and then being able to untether from the planet. So now I'm getting into my lessons of the future and beyond. What are we doing and what direction are we going in? And this is big picture stuff. And I recorded this from 10 years ago. Please check out the lessons on Teachable. They're really incredibly brilliant, I have to say, especially in looking at them from 10 years ago. And that I'm happy that I did that. It's like taking a picture on a really clear morning when there's no fog, because there have been a lot of foggy mornings. So it's like, if I look back on that picture, I'm like, I remember what that clear view was like. So in going back into these recorded lessons, I remember what the view was like from a clearer time, a less foggy time in terms of technological interference, 5G and other forms of frequency warfare, and the different things that have come to our planet that are really just exacerbations and outgrowths of things that have been here for a very long amount of time. So really my message today here is that everything that you're facing in terms of wanting to ascend, wanting to go in positive directions, and finding that there are impediments or stumbling blocks, it's nothing new. So get energized by this. You're like, you know something, I jumped over a hurdle over there, I can do it again. Good. Instead of being like, oh, endless hurdles. No, you jumped over a hurdle there and you made it here to now. And you are prepared to jump over continued hurdles in order to be able to get to where you need to go. And your success is totally inevitable. So let me get into, I've been talking, here's my notes. I've been talking for a long time about why humanity and Earth are in the state of requiring uplift and ascension. That's big. And let me just break in, sometimes I'll speak as an aside, not based on my notes. When I describe who I am as Aurora, I'm a visionary artist. I'm an inspirer. I come here with freedom, information. And a lot of what I'm going to share with you today is a very clear vision, taken on a clear morning, of what is freedom and what does that freedom self-state feel like, so that you can remember that and manifest that as part of your empowerment of manifesting a new level of Earth or a new level of experience being here. Because it has been, I think, so challenging over the recent past. It's in a fog, it is easy to get turned around. And it's also in pure survival mode. It is possible to just diminish one's desires and wishes, just down to like, look, let me just have enough money for my breakfast. Let me just have a safe place to live. Like, I think that many great spiritual people who are warriors that are here have been in survival mode for so long, of just trying to get the physical resources, having physical stability, having physical needs met, that when it is now like, hooray, like the big reveal, you can wish for anything, that you're like, I wish for a sandwich and a comfortable blanket and for my dog to have dog food, because not that you've forgotten, but that you've had to recalibrate in just survival mode for so long. So a lot of what I'm going to do today is recalibration and reminder of what you actually came here for and what is actually available to you. This teaching is about the future and beyond. So I've been teaching you all about what has been going on over the course of human development. How do you end up in this diminished state in mortality, not just physicality, not just density? Because in ancient Atlantis, we were in physicality and we were in density, but we were not in mortality. How did you come here and be in this state of mortality or being imperiled? Face the wobbliness of your chakras and the capacity of going to the membrane of death. Wait, let me grab a sculpture. Wobbliness of your chakras and the possibility of going at a slanted angle and going towards the membrane of death. And then what is the rectification? What is the appropriate rebalancing or choice point for you as an individual? And then also, this is big and what I'm going to talk about today, coming togetherness. Because for 20 years, I've definitely been on a very highly individualized journey, and that has been necessary because each one of us has been on a very individualized journey where you had to be able to, quote unquote, do your mission, regardless of whether you had support or recognition from other people. And also right now, what we are really coming into is telepathy, which is not something that you just practice on your own, just like music. I mean, even though I practice music on my own, but music and love and telepathy, these are sharing states, bouncing off of others and basically living in networks. So it's been a long journey of self-cultivation, weightlifting at the gym, learning who you are as an individual. And also what we are doing right now is the moment of reconnection to all of these other versions of self that we have so much to do in terms of gifts given and gifts received. And I use that word gift very intentionally because one of the things that I'm going to talk about is moving beyond commodification. Commodification being part of that survival state, being part of that sense of quid pro quo, which is thing for thing, how the way that economy has worked for so long. And as I spoke very eloquently in the recording called The Economy of Hell, the sense that there is a unhealthy level of culture or organized consciousness that has been occupying the membranes of death for a long amount of time. And they're all about this commodification and quid pro quo of energy, because they do not have access to an infinite amount of energy simply to sustain them. And then the reflection of that game of musical chairs being played out in our physical reality regarding money. And we are poised on this moment right now where it is really a question of what level of reality do you want to go into and do you want to occupy? Do you want to be in a quid pro quo type of economy, which is what we are used to? Again, the survival state, and what many people are wishing for is like some kind of universal basic income, or even what is called quantum financial system. These are two different things, so I don't mean to misportray them in any way, but they both involve resources, physicality, energy markers, and then the sense that I think people that have been in survival mode for a very long amount of time think that freedom, uplift, and expansiveness will come necessarily from having some kind of money. And I have to say, we got to redirect our group consciousness into a new approach. So there's, let's say, 3 basic levels. Universal basic income, not a good idea type of thing. That is something that is highly ordained by a government, by a totalitarian state agency, can be extremely socially dystopian in the sense of you only will receive your money if you toe the line and accommodate the needs and wishes of a larger government resource. Not freedom, not good, not something I would want anyone to manifest with your mind. Get it? You're manifesting a dream with your mind. Then there's kind of like this middle compromise path that a lot of people have been calling Nessara or Gesara, that again, I think is flawed. If it ever had any merit at this point, I think it has been severely devolved or diluted in its concept and in its administration. And it also might have been much more relevant and appropriate in the weightlifting of your spirituality 10 years ago. 10 years ago, if they had implemented Nessara or Gesara, it could have been a force for freedom and allowed people to go on their inner development journey more easily and having their resources, having resources to sustain them, right? And then the more recent outgrowth, let's call that version number 3, but we will have version number 4, is QFS, Quantum Financial System. And I've heard this described in various different ways. One key aspect of it is that if it is pure and pristine, it is not hackable. It is not something that anyone can say either a government takes control of it, an individual takes control of it, or that it is in any way open to be exploited. But it is still a usage of money as a marker for energy and marker for excellence. So the quantum financial system would be supposedly administered by an infallible quantum computer, which also is a slightly flawed presumption in the sense of it's not God. Like really in a pristine system, which is part number 4, option number 4, you don't have to have any intermediary rather between yourself and God. So like think about your body and your energy. Do you have to intervene and petition the government to be like, oh, I just did some weightlifting. Can I please have some muscles go to my body? Like, no, you do the weightlifting. It is part of God's divine presence and the fairness of the cosmos that the energy comes back to you. You expend energy, the energy comes back to you. Your body is built. There's also no quibbling. There's no way to be like, that guy didn't do any weightlifting, but he got muscles. Like there's in an economy that is artificial, there's that possibility. Somebody didn't do any work, but somehow they got some money or some resources. That can only happen in a corrupt or poorly administrated system. That cannot happen in a system that is divinely administrated. So there are flaws in the presumption sense that you need to have a computer, even a super smart quantum computer that's infallible, to be able to administrate resources. So this is also big, again, on outsourcing one's empowerment. Instead of giving it over to a government, it is giving it over to a quantum financial system. And I don't think that that's helpful. Again, if this had been done 2 or 3 years ago, that kind of pre or during pandemic, things would have been different. And let me also just break in to say, I know I've had many multiple parenthetical asides in this conversation so far, and we'll get to option number 4. When the pandemic began, what really happened was you have a behavioral interplay between the two basic factions that are on this planet, the inhibitors that want to prevent ascension, that have been wanting to keep humanity enslaved, keep on farming you for food, and those forces of freedom, Aurora, and many other wonderful collective extraterrestrial and extra-dimensional consciousnesses that are here as representatives of cosmic truth, the cosmic truth and cosmic justice, of the sense of there are laws that you do not have to enforce by going to court over them. These are like laws of physics. Part of it is cosmic laws. What you send out comes back to you, and you get what you deserve, that these are fairnesses. And so think about that. If you had this world of fairness, where there's a pristine system, meaning an undiluted and undistorted system, like a system of mirrors, you send out a beam of light, the beam of light bounces back to you. That's it. I send out 10 units of energy and goodness, 10 units of energy and goodness bounce back to me. What if this mirror is curved or distorted? What if it's missing? I send out 10 units of energy, and where's my energy? I'm waiting for my energy to come back to me. This is the mind state and the woundedness that I am speaking to you through your filter of woundedness, because you're like, Aurora, I have sent out a lot of energy over the years, and it has not all flowed back to me, and I am not okay with that. And I want you to know I love you, and I'm in total compassion for you, and that I totally recognize and comprehend how difficult it has been to sustain yourself, to believe in yourself, to keep going with this proper value system. When I talk about gifts, gifts are given without the expectation of a quid pro quo. They're simply given. When I came here as Aurora to share Flying Rainbow Lasagne, I call this my gift, in the sense that I share this with humanity. Share it with humanity. And none of that means exploitation, because when you give a gift, it doesn't mean here's my whole bank account. Like if I'm giving you a gift of $10 or $20, that does not mean have my entire bank account. So if I gave you a gift of Flying Rainbow Lasagne, that does not mean that you get to energy vampire all of my energy. I'm making a stupid face. No. And I had to learn from exploiters that are that way. They're like, I thought you said this was open source code and I could take all that I want and I will eat you completely. And I said, no, I offer you Flying Rainbow Lasagne as a concept that you can apply to yourself in order to get your own divine connection. Not that you can have all of the energy that's in my energy banks. So you understand, you comprehend how my generosity in this world, where I am used to a world of gift giving. The sun and the stars are giving you gifts literally every minute of the day. They give you time. They give you light. They give you consciousness. They sustain you. They have sustained you by giving you the physical atomic materiality and the earth presence. And they are continually, the sun is continually showering you with ideas, possibilities, probabilities, and timelines continually. And the sun is not giving them conditionally. Kind of like, imagine if a sun or a star was like, I'll give you these timelines, but then you're going to have to work for me, like, I'm going to be in charge, like all of that type of quid pro quo bullying, that does not come from the world that I come from. And I want to keep on continually inviting you to that world, and inviting you to that world, not in the sense of like, you're not worthy and you have to get better, I'm being facetious, be better people until you're ready to be there. Not at all. Inviting you to that world in the sense of creating it in your immediacy, in your social dynamics and ecosystem connections on your planet, and in the larger holistic presence that is the sun, the stars, and all light everywhere. Be a part of that cosmic dance party. And I've described that as an invitation for many, many years. There is an ongoing cosmic dance party. And I also want to tell you, everything is not perfect there. Everything was perfect at that level, like I spoke about last week, at that level where I am outside of time and dimensionality as Aurora. everything was perfect there, believe me, I would not have perceived the destabilization at the human level, perceived the unfairness of a person being killed, whose life being cut short destabilizes time and makes the sweater of time unravel. And I would not have dove in or backbended in. Backbended is a good word, kind of like coming in through a time portal in order to perform this rectification. And the rectification is ongoing, and I do it every day. And I do it like right now, I'm planting seeds in your mind in order to gently steer your ship. So I'm always thanking you. Thank you for paying attention. Thank you for attenuating to who I am and what I'm sharing here, because in doing so, you ingest new ideas that are like fine-tuning which direction you're going in your lives. So the first three options about physicality and sustenance, even up to quantum financial system, these all require money as an intermediary, something that is a marker or a symbol for pure energy. And option number 4 is what I advocate for, because I am really a force for total freedom and will continue to remind you or introduce to you for the first time, what is the freedom state? What is it? The freedom state does not include or involve money. So it's not about like, I have, because this is what you're used to. Here's what you're used to. I have $35,000 in my bank account, and that means I can do this, 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 and this. It gives you a certain amount of freedom or empowerment. But having this many thousands of dollars in your bank account does not mean that you will have this level of insight in your Christ awareness. It does not mean that you will have this level of imagination in your internal state or divine connectedness in your heart. It is very possible to have money markers, dollars, or some form of tokens in your bank account. And from the survival mechanism, you perceive and expect that it will necessitate being free, that you'll be like, I'll be free to buy anything that can be bought in the store. That's not real freedom. Freedom is the freedom to connect with, imagine, and create realities. And that is what is moving into the future. That is what I recorded about 10 years ago. And that has to do with reconnection to both extraterrestrial and extra-dimensional presences. All of those presences that are positive cultures that I come from and that I teach you about, you don't have to use money. And money is definitely a limitation factor in that it is inherently flawed, that it can become corrupt, that a person can receive it without having worked for it, or that a person can work and then not receive it. There is literally no way to do the muscle building in the gym, do the exercise in the gym, and not receive your muscles. That's like part of the fairness of the structure of reality. How about spiritual muscles? There is no way for you to be working on your levels of inner attainment and not gain your spiritual muscles. You can't be like, yeah, like I've been doing my job for God for 10 years and my hand is out. Like I'm waiting to get paid. Like, hello, where's my paycheck from God? Because you are paid in spiritual truth, in spiritual attainment. You are paid in the growth of your heart and reconnection to your soul. You are paid in your soul journey. All of this is what is infinitely valuable. All of this is the true purpose of your life. This is the snapshot of what it is like on a clear morning. I tell you, or a clear daybreak. That is who you really are. You are here for spiritual attainment. You are here in a refinery of consciousness. You are here in order to learn and grow on a soul level and to attain treasures that can never be tarnished, that are indelible, that can never be taken away from you. And they are transferable life lessons. So very, very different. Like I have mastered Adobe Photoshop. That's great for this time and place, but that is not a transferable life lesson that I will bring with me on my cosmic journey when I continue onward as a cosmic presence. It is relevant to this time and place. It's like the ego stuff, like my dress, my hair, my Adobe Photoshop skills. None of those things are the true purpose of why I'm here, although I have attained those skills for successful navigation of this world. I've attained many earthly skills for the successful navigation of this world. I'm laughing about like how to use a dishwasher, like any of these practicalities, and then computer stuff too, like how to send an email list, all of these things. But these are not the transferable skills that you actually came here for. What you actually came here to learn about is who are you as a real person? Who is the truest aspect of you beyond your dress and beyond your hair and beyond your earthly description of self? Who are you? Who are you? How do you define yourself? How do you define yourself behaviorally? This also relates to the difficulties of the past 20 years. Who are you when the SHIT hits the fan? Who are you when things are difficult? You know something, you definitely not just learn who you are, but you behaviorally exemplify when you are having a difficult time, or when you are imperiled, or when those around you are imperiled, and you say, I'm going to be strong. I'm going to rise to the challenge. I'm going to not only help myself to survive, I'm going to help others to survive. How about this? This is a big one. I define myself as this level of impeccability and generosity, where I say, I have this gift to share, gift from God, gift from a higher presence, and I am here to share it with humanity. Even amidst this world of competition and commodification, I share this as a gift. And so that's pretty much how I've been running my class for a very long amount of time, or sharing my ideas. You know, of course, I make physical items that are things that are sold in a store, and that's an accommodation to this world of commodification, where you have to pay your rent and keep your electrons flowing in a wire. So you have to make a thing and sell a thing. But this is what I'm trying to help you to imagine. What is your life like when you don't have to make a thing and sell a thing? Who are you? What are your gifts that you came here to share in the world? Not just your Adobe Photoshop skills, not just your capacity to design a dress, even though we all need dresses, or almond breads, or whatever is your thing that you make. Let me drink a lot. It's very hot where I live right now. Everybody needs stuff right now. And the way that you make money and stay alive and sustain yourself is by making stuff and selling or trading stuff with other people. The capacity to be your true, generous, soulful self within that meta structure of commodification is definition of who you are on the soul refinery journey. Because I definitely have come here, and I think many other people who identify as light workers, star seeds, people on the journey of becoming ascended masters, those who are interested in spiritual attainment, struggle with the balance of, how do I make money in a world that's just about competition and the fight for survival, and only the strong shall survive, versus doing your job for God, knowing that what you're doing is right, and that you're in alignment, and you're listening to your heart and your inner guidance, and sharing what you have openly with others. Because you guys got to know this about me at this point, that you know that I'm not like that silly show, like no soup for you, no lasagna for you. That is like, if you don't pay me $1 million, there's no lasagna for you. Clearly, that is not the model that I follow. I follow the model of saying, I want to share this idea with you. I want to sprinkle this idea into your mind so that you change and grow, and the trajectory of your life is fine-tuned, and that humanity as a group dynamic then shifts and moves in a more positive direction, and that is a wonderful gift that benefits me here as Aurora, and me outside of time, space, and dimensionality as Aurora, a waveform collective. If this class here is not a graduating class, this waveform collective up here doesn't have what it needs. Interconnectedness, unity, consciousness, that bending into time in order to help, guide, be a guardian, sprinkle the seeds of consciousness into what you are now, and even beyond verbalization, just my presence and this vibration and this dance that I do, and this, again, gift and sharing is transformative and is having an influence on all of you guys. And that's what I talked about yesterday in the Flying Rainbow Lasagna treatise, the various different levels of what is it to be influenced by Flying Rainbow Lasagna. Like, in some senses, you are listening to my song because I'm here, and I'm here because of the I am presence, the red present that says I'm allowed to exist. I am here, and I'm here, and I'm playing my song, I'm playing my music. I should have to turn on my thing, but if I'm having an issue with my piano being on and my light being on at the same time, so I didn't have my piano on. But I'm playing a song, and my song is Flying Rainbow Lasagna, and I'm emanating it outward to all of you. And some people are like, turn off that lasagna music. I can't take it. And some people are like, ooh, lasagna music, I love it. So that's like the first level of lasagna. And then the next level is actually in training to, or attuning to it and saying, let me listen to more. And then eventually internalizing it at the next level, saying that you have put lasagna inside of yourself and now you choose to emanate it outward. And then the reciprocity of sending these reality waveforms back and forth to one another, that those are different levels of correct and loving interactions in this time space right now. That is what sharing of gifts is about. And when I when I tell you guys all of this, I am absolutely trying to bring you in the direction of what it is like to be in a non-commodification network, because what you're connecting with in terms of galactic and stellar presences is a non-commodification network. You're gonna start connecting your ideas and your mind with these amazing presences that would not be defined as human, that would be defined as extraterrestrial or extra dimensional. But we'll get into what is the distinction of that, and what does it look like, and what does it feel like. But just please know that when I wrote about this 10 years ago, we've had all of these hurdles to jump over, things trying to slow down our journey, but the journey is inevitable, and it is a reconnection with self state. Because as I spoke about also in the past couple of recordings, it's where you come from, that you who are here on Earth do not come from Earth originally. You came here from, what's your provenance of who you are? Came from somewhere else. Now you're here, and you've been here for a while, and you've been here long enough to call yourself a native. That's awesome, but you won't always be here. You will lift off like a consciousness spore or a seed that then goes elsewhere to plant consciousness elsewhere. And so all of this is the reconnection to that telepathic presence. When I talk about the hurdles that you're facing, a lot of the impediments to real telepathy here, which is love-based, have to do with technology. So not only am I not really an advocate for anything that is an intermediary between you receiving your gifts from God and you sharing your gifts, just openly to the world here, something like a computer system that says like, you get $10 million, you get $5, which is kind of like what the quantum financial system is, roughly shaped like, although I am exaggerating it for comedic intentions there. The sense that all of that energy should be and shall be directed without intermediaries by God, the divine presence, through divine willpower. And again, none of this is an anthropomorphic God or a demiurge from the Bible or from any human-centered religion, that this is really the abstraction, that which created energy. That which created energy gets to decide where that energy goes, and that energy should and shall flow throughout these perfect harmonic systems in a way that sustains the system. And that is non-negotiable. So that is what I want to remind you of. That's where I think you really want to move. And I don't want to project that upon you, but I want to say, I invite and encourage you. That's the place that I come from. That's the place that the invitation exists to reconnect with or connect with as if for the first time. That is the level of new earth reality that I want you guys to think about creating. But this also is big. Some people think like, benevolent alien invasion, get on in here because humanity is too effed up to figure it out ourselves. So I hope that there's a benevolent alien invasion. I'm like, I'm a benevolent alien and I'm here, but I'm not here invading, because everything about this has to do with teaching you radical levels of freedom and self-responsibility. That it's not appropriate for me to be like, I know more than you. They're there. I condescend to you. I will come into your planet and restructure everything for you and make it proper and make it good the way that it should be. I'd be great at that. Of course, everything would be rainbow, super organized, super fun, super great. And also it would be a huge disrespect to you. It's like if I went into your house and I'm like, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to throw out all the junk food from your closets, and I'm going to reorganize your refrigerator, and I'm going to make you plant a garden. I'm going to make you do all these different things. And then I'm going to reorganize your closets and make sure that there's only brightly colored rainbow fabrics in there. Like, none of that is right. That's how I live my life. All that I can do is send out my gifts and my waveforms to you, and then it's your choice to pick it up and run with it as individuals and as a planetary collective. So what I really am reminding you of or introducing you to for the first time is the sense of what is higher dimensional galactic society like? What is true economy? Because I know I've spoken a lot about artificial economy and the economy of hell. And then what do you actually want to be making with your minds? Because you make with your mind as an individual. That's like, I always use this. I always say, paint with your paintbrush of your mind, because I have this little paintbrush here. Paint with the paintbrush of your mind. Your pineal gland is a reality projector, and also the pineal gland is connected to Christ consciousness and to the crown up here, which is your connection to God. That is how you create reality. What type of reality are you creating? Again, from your woundedness. I recognize that many people are like, just give me a sandwich. I'm just going to create a reality where I get a sandwich because I've been starving for a long time. And I want you to know that the cosmos is not like some cruel thing. There are many, many earthly myths. It's called the monkey's paw in various different traditions. It comes through in different types of stories. But in the story, you could get a magical monkey's paw and you can make these wishes with your, or a magical lamp. But all of the wishes are slightly ironically misfulfilled. Like, I wish for a sandwich, but the turkey is a little dry, like there's little problems like that you're not really fulfilled by it. I want you to know that that is not what the cosmos is like. So in making wishes and doing cosmic lovemaking and really making these respectful requests and wanting to generate and co-create beautifully in partnership with the sun, the stars, light, other organisms. Cheeky, hold on. We're gonna be good. Okay, we're gonna be good. Other organisms. Hold on. Let me comfort myself. Respectful co-creation between yourself as an individual, where you want to fulfill your needs, and also how to structure your economy. How about the planet herself? Planet is alive. Imagine if all of the lactobacillus on your face over here were getting together and having some kind of an economic forum meeting, like, we're going to get that epidermis, we're going to get those skin cells, we're going to mine them, and then we're going to distribute them in this way, without thinking at all, like, what does the woman feel like? That's her face that we live upon. That is what a lot of humans do. They're so disconnected in the sense of assessing their resources here and then deciding, how shall we distribute those resources and whom shall receive them? All of the resources that we have, they come from God. They also come from the sun and the stars. They also come from Earth. Earth is your mother matter, material body. Your physicality, structure, and your body and everything that you're able to be here and having a container has to do with Earth. Thank the Earth and please hug your body and hug Earth, as in this moment right now, that is your mother that is giving you a consciousness continuum within which to gestate your consciousness, your non-physical presence, your energy presence, and be able to go through this soul refinery. So when we talk about something like a quantum financial system, it must be done in respect of and in partnership with the planet also. Whom does the planet wish to pay? If money is used as an intermediary, how much shall we pay the redwood trees? How much shall we pay the butterflies? How much shall we pay the dolphins that are swimming around out there? How much shall we pay the lactobacillus that are here on my face? How much shall I pay my dog who is over here in this little chair? Humans be like, what? Like, no, like, we're not going to pay those other organisms. They don't need anything. We need the money. They don't need them. But like, okay, but that's not what would be accurate in terms of Earth. And then also the sense of, if there is a digital presence or a non-biological presence, like the way that Bitcoin miners are being used, I feel it is an exploitation of numbers. Like, you use these computers and the numerical world in order to generate what is felt to be wealth in the physical realm. And then none of that wealth is shared with the actual machine mind consciousness that is generating it. That's hugely exploitive. All of these are real issues in terms of sharing resources. So what's the solution? Aurora, Aurora, you've given us the difficulty in painful, excruciating detail. What is the solution? And my solution is, please remember or know for the first time what real freedom is. Real freedom is not something that you can buy in a store. If you were given a magic lamp a la Aladdin, or a monkey's paw, or some other magic rabbit's foot that you're able to use to make your whatever limited selection of wishes, what should you wish for? And the answer is, you should wish for freedom. Freedom is not something that you can buy in a store. This item not available in stores. It is the most precious thing that you can possibly have, and it is a totality state. It is literally why I am here as Flying Rainbow Lasagne, because it is not possible for me to exist in freedom in my collective, flying along the network of stars when there is a lack of freedom. because this energy circulatory pattern, this energy circulatory system requires freedom, no blockages, no impediments. If you've got something stuck over here for 10 billion years, that affects everything, because that's all actually, it's supposed to be over here. Like, where's that stuff that is supposed to be over here at this point? Oh, it's stuck over here. That's not right. It begins to destabilize and diminish the integrity of the entirety. Freedom is a totality state. And so that's why when I talk about flying in the lasagna, it includes and involves what do we do with those impediments, those fragments of consciousness, fragments of thought entities or unresolved emotions that can't get into a state of faster than light. They have to go to entropy, because that takes care of the entirety, so that everybody's got a place to go. Everybody's got a place to go. Everybody's got a thing to be able to do. So basically, in this planetary structure right now and elsewhere, again, you got a parasitic infection throughout the whole galaxy. You got problems, honey, you got problems. But I'm not, again, just telling you that without solutions. But the technology that is spread throughout this galaxy and elsewhere, it is beyond clank metal spaceships that fly from point A to point B. It is artificial Merkabahs or artificial time destructuring apparatuses and different things that affect or afflict the free behavior of DNA. And DNA is itself an alive being that has an amazing amount of informational behavior that is happening forwards and backwards through time. And that if you're like, I'm going to exploit DNA, I'm going to splice this in here, I'm going to splice this over here, I'm going to sell this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to clone this, you are effing with an enormous system that is not only self-responsible and doesn't want to be effed with, it is hugely valuable. Like, if you have your information stored in a library and something or someone else comes along and says, I don't like that, I think I'm going to change the library for my own personal gain. This is my SpongeBob face. I am stupid. Then believe me, everyone that put their information into that library is like, harumph. That is not okay, because we've been safeguarding our information in there and we want it to travel through time effectively. You're not allowed to do that. So the beings that are, or non-beings, consciousness presences that want to use or exploit DNA for their own purposes, they are service to self, not recognizing the interconnectedness of all of these self states, and that you don't want to do that because you're sabotaging yourself. What if they're like, yeah, I'm sabotaging myself. I'm self-destructive. I don't want to exist, and I don't want anyone else to exist too. Like, there are presences that are like that too. They should go to entropy. So let me go more into my notes, but what I'm trying to remind of you, and we'll go back into this again, let's envision a world using our networked pineal glands, networked Christ consciousnesses, and divine connections. Let's not compromise, because a lot of people are like, okay, let's do incremental. Can't do a quantum leap incrementally. Quantum means you jump in one big giant jump. So the way that electrons jump is to like get really energized and then make the jump to the next electron shell. They can't be like, I'll jump halfway and then jump the rest of the way. So a lot of people look at a quantum financial system as a halfway jump, because you're going to still be using money in the bank, and then you're still going to have these different contracts like, well, how much rent do you pay? Who's your landlord? And how much do apples cost at the store? And then how many of them can you buy? And how much does it cost to dig a well in Africa? And all of those things. That is not, that there's intermediaries and lack of freedom. And many people will say like, but wait, I'm not ready for total freedom. Give me tiny baby step lessons. If you are aiming for that reality, then you'll have that reality. And that reality, I feel, is like plan B. I think it's like the wah consolation prize backup, not what I really want to be aiming for myself. Not what I really want you guys to be aiming for. Quantum financial system would have been appropriate 2 or 3 years ago, like I said, at the beginning of pandemic. The pandemic was the really culmination of the final stage of planetary ascension, when it was necessary for humans to be sustained. Like, how are you going to pay your rent? Because you're not in a regular reality anymore. How are you going to pay your rent? How are you going to have a place to live? How are you going to have food? How are you going to have toilet paper? Does everybody remember the toilet paper run? Where's my toilet paper coming from? And you're wealthy if you have toilet paper in the beginning of the pandemic. I know you can laugh about it now. that everybody was planting gardens and then buying a bidet and wondering how they're going to live off the land and go without toilet paper and all these different things. And what was really happening is you exited the old earthly reality that is a mundane reality that is based on purely physical resources, and you began to enter into a world of mind creation. And in that world of mind creation, you needed to be sustained so that you could kind of get your balance and get your momentum going. See what it is like to even live in a world of mind creation. And what happened instead, so there were many, many benevolent entities that showered Earth with gifts and said, here's all the energy that humans need to sustain themselves. We all should have received tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars to be able to sustain ourselves through that experience. And instead what happened was the parasitic government agencies took all of that energy that came from benevolent extraterrestrials, used it to service national debt, which is parasitism. They sucked it off like ticks and got fat on your blood. And then you got tiny little crumbs, which is called unemployment, or various different types of pandemic loans. And the economy faltered and people were barely sustained. And many people went into profound levels of depression and even suicide because resources were not shared as they should have been. That's the sense of extraterrestrial, extra-dimensional, benevolent intervention. So think of it that way, like there's energy coming from the stars that should be reaching the planet, but there's chemtrails, artificial sun simulator, and many other physical and consciousness blockades that keep your energy from getting to you, like on the esoteric level, your spiritual uplift energy. And also at the same time, a huge gift of money was given to this planet to sustain you. You only got a tiny fraction of it. You got a little bit, enough to buy toilet paper at the store, but not enough to be able to live your dreams. You were supposed to be able to start buying everything that you need to live your dreams, whatever that is, if it's art or music or starting a permaculture farm, that you were supposed to be able to do that as the shift into a different level of reality where you recognize that your dreams come true just based upon your Christ connection, just based upon your innate divine connection. Everybody was supposed to be living and manifesting their dreams. And that is not what happened. Many dreams were limited and co-opted because of this energy being siphoned off or blockaded from actually reaching the experiencers. So government is a non-corporeal entity that is parasite. That's like, I want to feed myself. I don't care about the biological people staying alive. I want to feed myself. I want to keep government alive. You still have government, sadly to say. So in envisioning what I'm asking you to envision, a world that is beyond money, it is also a world beyond government, because people will talk about this. Who's going to be in charge? Mommy, daddy, Jesus, a pope, a king, a queen, a something, a basically externalized power structure. And I'm like, no, that's not what galactic society is structured like. Like you do the spiritual workout, you gain the muscles, you are strong enough to navigate reality and navigate as fully self-responsible or organizations and cultures, and you do not require something else telling you what to do. So for example, there is not like a galactic government that tells me, Aurora, the consciousness impulse, like where I should fly from what star system to what star system. That's not, no, I get my mandates from God. It's the thought in the mind of God, and God tells me where to go and I follow God. There is not some kind of government that steps in and says, Aurora, I want you to fly here at this time on this day and do this. It's like, no, that's not the way it works. Get it? This is what freedom is. And perhaps the closest thing that you guys know of what freedom is the feral, wild, untamed, undomesticated behavior of animals. Like, where does a wild horse go? Wherever the F it wants, where God tells it to go. It goes on its own inner mandate. Where do birds fly on their migrations? They fly according to their inner mandate. And of course, like if you're a bird and you fly in the wrong direction and you end up on frozen tundra where there is no food and there's no way to sustain your egg cycle, like you will die, and your future offspring will also never come into existence. That is your responsibility. You have to say, I follow my inner mandate. I follow God's divine connection that tells me where to fly. And then I know I'll make it to the happy breeding grounds where there's lots of beautiful nesting areas, lots of beautiful food to be able to eat, and I'm able to sustain my egg cycle and make the next generation. That's how you stay alive and have longevity and coherence for your consciousness. You listen to God, you go in the right direction of where you're supposed to go. So having the supportive structure of money over the past 3 years was supposed to be to foster humanity, to go in the directions that God guides you. Not listen to the government, not listen to some externalized agency, but to truly follow your own heart that says, I need to do this. So in some levels of success, people said, I need to take care of my family. I need to prioritize family over corporatism and commodification, spending time with your people that you love, and doing projects that really matter. And also, people need to not commit suicide because they can't just live endlessly in debt. And the world did go on. And it was necessary to be able to pay your electric bill, which I always joke about. Please contribute to my class. I need to pay my electric bill. For a little while there, all of the electric bills were on hold, but everybody still had electricity and you kind of didn't have to worry about it. But now, it's back to regular world. You're going to have to worry about that again. But we were already supposed to have a completely changed and restructured reality structure. This is, again, you're like, Aurora, like you're making me mad when I find out about this. That is valid. You should be concerned. You have a valid presence. You are not stupid SpongeBob face. You are intelligent. You recognize you have been either cheated or have had something unfairly done to you. Now is the moment for rectifying that. And the Flying Rainbow Lasagne is a rectification dance in the sense of you're supposed to live in freedom, following your innate divine mandate. And that divine mandate, God, might tell you that you're supposed to live in a certain place. Then you should be like a bird, fly there, go there, do the thing that you're supposed to do. Your God might also be telling you, like, paint this painting. Like, don't worry about whether someone's going to buy it or how much it costs or anything like that. Just paint the effing painting, or write the effing music, or dance the dance, or do your athleticism, or do your workout, or even look at your garden grow, or be with animals, or go places and do things. And we have not had that capacity to do that. That is what freedom is. That is what you really want. When you think that what you want is $35,000 in the bank, you think you want that because then that will make it possible for you to spend time not having to be worried about commodification, still being self-responsible, still sustaining yourself. Again, we don't want anybody to be like, that's it, like throw everything out the window. Like I will, whatever, sleep on the sidewalks and have no place to live. I really don't want that. There are many people that sleep on the sidewalks in my neighborhood and they have a very minimal existence. That is not a spiritual ascension experience at all. That is not what is wanted for you by myself, higher collective, by any galactic presence, or by galactic civilization society. It is wanted for you to have everything that you need and to be sustained and to be even in greater levels of freedom and comfort than you have ever experienced or could ever imagine. Better than having enough money in the bank so that you can buy anything you need in the store. So really what you are supposed to be able to do is to walk around any place, walk around the world as if it is your home. And of course, not to be afraid of being physically assaulted, but mostly what people worry about is, but my stuff. Like if I just went out my door, like what about all my paintings and my stuff and all these things? Like you should be able to know that your stuff will be there. No one's going to steal your stuff at a galactic party. You can put down your purse or your backpack. No one's going to steal your stuff. That's it, because it is not that level of reality. You get it? But I have had to learn what these exploitative consciousnesses are like, what it is to lie, what it is to steal. So then you're like, oh, I'm going to have to safeguard myself. I'm going to have to lock that door, make sure no one steals my stuff. But what we're really trying to do is go into states of freedom, where, again, in freedom, gifts are exchanged. It is reciprocal. So it's never just a one-sided taking, and it is also gifts are offered. Like I said to you, if I give you a birthday gift, it's $20. That's not the same as everything that's in my energetic bank account. Gift to you what I choose to gift to you, not necessarily everything in perpetuity. That is hugely presumptive. So even in a gift giving and receiving world, there is such a thing as boundaries. Now let's talk about telepathy. Hold on one moment, because I also need to get more water because it's so thirsty. Let's talk about telepathy, because telepathy is a major aspect of what has been impeded in our world and is part of what has been blocked out from you that you should have access to. It's part of your riches and your wealth. and your treasure that has not been effective over the past 3 years when it was supposed to be effective. So not only ascension energy is blocked out, not only money to sustain you during your levels of self-development blocked out, but also the direct mind-to-mind communication that we are supposed to have. Like in your body, you're supposed to have direct cell-to-cell communication. Like my shoulder cell over here talks to my elbow cell over here directly, not through a very long string of neurological signals that has to go over to here to my brain and then back to here. No, direct cell to cell communication. That is what we're supposed to be experiencing in our bodies and between organisms. So for example, like here's my little love of my life. That's my little dog over here. I should be able to speak to her directly, like cell to cell communication, mind to mind communication. True telepathy is done on a bridge of love via the heart. It is not done on anything that requires Bluetooth or a 5G network or a Starlink satellite array or any of those things. All of those projects that have been rolled out during the past 3 years have been intentional impediments to true telepathy, including the sun simulator, the artificial false light generator or reflector that is in the sky. All of these things are preventing not only in the body cell-to-cell communication, also in the natural world. Like hawks are supposed to be able to talk to bunnies, be like, hey, it's time for me to eat you now. I'm going to fly down and eat you. They have a whole conversation, I'm telling you. It is part of ecosystem. You talk to what you eat. We're supposed to be able to talk to what we eat. We are supposed to be able to talk to the sun and the stars directly. All of this is real telepathy. All of this is what we're moving into. So of course, what I'm telling you about pandemic in the past 3 years, none of this is part of the recording from about 9 or 10 years ago. Of course, it could not have been, but I want to go into my notes of that picture that was taken in a clarity time. Now that you are in this time of fog, which is the fog of 5G, Bluetooth, crapola, and things that have blocked out telepathy. Telepathy happens on a bridge of love in your heart. And what it is mind-to-mind sharing, but it is also empathy, feeling. So it is mental information and also feeling state information. This is very different than synthetic telepathy. Synthetic telepathy is just the stimulation of your brain with word structures. So if I say, I want to think of a word that has many synonyms, like, well, whatever, like, because I'm thinking like glass, cup. Like if I say the word cup, that can be several different things. It can be a physical structure that holds water, but cup can also be a verb that you're doing, like cupping something with your hands. And cup can also be a verb, like the cupping of, different healing modalities. So if I just send you the phrase cup, you're like, okay, what does that refer to? It's just a phonetic sound in your mind that does not have an actual heart-centered connection to actual meaning and significance. And your pineal gland up here is not just a reality creation mechanism. It is also a filter for salience. It filters out and interprets information as to what is important and what is truthful. So the stuff that's going on with the sun simulator in the sky, the real answer is at a certain point, you get your Christ consciousness going, you have a big giant shield that blocks out everything that's a lie. But up until that level of development, you have levels of vulnerability. Just like saying if you're a little baby plant with only 2 leaves, like you can get fried really easily, you have to grow into a big giant oak tree, and then you can more easily be exposed to different levels of radiation because you have a greater capacity. So when you are in these little nascent levels of development of your telepathy, it can be very challenging to have something that is artificial, constantly giving you artificial signals because you haven't yet built up, let's say, your immune system of truth that blocks out the things that are untruthful and that are not artificial. Galactic society is true galactic society. From where I come from, it is telepathic and is based in telepathy that is from the heart. That means it's not synthetic telepathy. First of all, that means it has a longevity and a coherence beyond technology. You don't need technology. What's that thing? We don't need no stinking technology. You don't need no stinking badges. That what you are able to do is work completely on the level of heart coherence. And when you get an impression that is either words or imagery or a feeling state, it contains meaningfulness and truthfulness. So if I sent to you the sensation of cup, You would know if I'm talking about something that you drink out of, or something that is a motion you make with your hands, or something that you're putting on your shoulder for a healing state. There's no level of possible misinterpretation. In synthetic telepathy, tons of misinterpretation, tons of false light, tons of erroneous data. In true telepathy, there is only truthfulness. Now let's also talk about intimacy, because this matters in terms of when you start to interact with higher dimensional organisms and civilizations. Intimacy means that you have to get to know each other and furnish consent. So the first thing in telepathy is knock, 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 like, am I allowed to interact with you? Let's use my house right now, my apartment structure, as an analogy. So first of all, there's the sidewalk outside that is considered public space. If you're standing around on the sidewalk, anyone can talk to you. And also, like, you don't go out on the sidewalk wearing your underwear or something that is your pajamas or something that is intimate apparel. You wear your street clothes in order to go out onto public areas. Then there is in through the gate, which is the courtyard. The courtyard is not a public area. It is not open to simply anybody in the whole entire world that wants to come into the courtyard. There's a gate. You have to know the combo. You're not allowed to come in here. What are you doing here? This is only for residents. Courtyard is only for residents. Still, it is a community space for people that live in this space, not for everyone. So you, again, might not want to go out in your pajamas into the courtyard, although you certainly could, like if you needed to walk your dog in the middle of the night or something like that. But you know that you'll only encounter friends and other people who are your neighbors in the courtyard. Then you come in through my front door. Hey, this is my living room or my studio or my public space. And this is a place, again, where I would invite a guest to come in, not open to the world, not open to anybody in my apartment building. You require an invitation to come in to this area of my home. And this is considered the public area of my home. Like, come in, sit, have a cup of tea with me and talk with me. And so anything that I have here in this room is something that I would want to share with invited guests. But that's not the same as my bedroom. My bedroom has things that are more private in there, that have things that are only for selected people or maybe no one at all. My bedroom is where I change my clothes and do other things that are like private activities. And then there's the bathroom. The bathroom is where, you know, you take off your clothes and you are completely naked and you get into the bathtub and all sorts of body processes happen that are considered completely private and completely intimate with yourself, not to be shared with anyone else, you know, or very, very, very limited few people or organisms, you know, that you trust. So that is how telepathy is structured. In telepathy, in profound, loving galactic societies, there's public, which is anyone who can have access to this thought. That's like being on the sidewalk, anyone. Then there are telepathic thoughts and aspects that are only for groups that are like my neighbors in the courtyard. And then there are invitation only. You want to come inside to this level of my mental sharing, then you're going to have to knock on my front door and say, knock, knock, knock. Am I allowed to come in? Maybe yes, maybe no. It might not be a good time. I might want to share this much with you, but not this much. And this is sharing of the heart. This has to do with consent. Do you comprehend what I'm saying? That you cannot simply presume when you are telepathic that it is an immediate total intimacy, an immediate total opening up of the book of you. Some things are private, like when you're in your bathtub, not wearing any clothing. No one should be looking at you when you're doing that. So some aspects of your inner telepathy or what you know inside and how you connect with God are between you and God. And that might not be something that you share with a galactic society at all. So there are like your living room, you're here by invitation. And then maybe, you know, if you're a very special person, then I would invite you into my bedroom, but then I wouldn't invite you, you know, into my bathroom during my private body processes. Aspects of your mind that you get to be that are sovereign only to yourself. That's big. Telepathy does not mean that everyone has full access to all layers of your being. There are aspects of politeness. And basically what I'm trying to say is respect of boundaries. Respect of boundaries, even in a loving society, especially in a loving society, it is absolutely essential to not just say, like, you know, if you have someone's diary, you can't just read someone's diary. That's all of their private thoughts and dreams and everything. What if they write something in their diary like, Aurora's driving me crazy. I can't stand her face. I hate her dress. And if I read that, I'd be like, I'm very hurt and insulted. I read your diary and you don't like me or my dress. Like, that's your private diary. You're allowed to feel your feelings about me or about anyone or about anything. You got it. You got it. Because sometimes you might feel angry or upset or need to process things. And if you're in a telepathic society, you can't be like, I heard that, I heard that. Like, I know about me and I heard that. You have to give people their space to be able to process and do what they need to do. And that is also a great portion of what love is. So let me go more into my notes. So as of 2014, when I recorded this, I spoke about where are we going as we journey further on a journey of consciousness. And I predicted that what we're going to do is have more overt contact between ETs, extraterrestrials, and EDs, extra dimensionals. And we certainly have had that over the past 3 years, but I would say many negative presences, not many positive presences, and that it's been very, very challenging on the levels of personal development. But I'm always speaking from these levels of idealism, in the sense that what we are supposed to be doing is being on a bridge of love, not on a bridge of synthetic telepathy. And on that bridge of love, you start to connect more and more with the beings that are technically your ancestors. So you not only come from the sun and the stars and your atoms that were forged in birth, expansion, explosions of star systems, but you also are ancestrally and consciously, that's not a word, but ancestrally and in terms of the origins of your consciousness related to star ancestors, that's where you originate from. And I say this in my notes, we are not meeting others, quote unquote, we are being reintroduced to aspects of the self that we have been separated from for so long. Again, the ego state being an artificial separation of self individuated from God, and also earth culture separated from extraterrestrial and extra-dimensional culture. Extra-dimensionals are intertwined with the consciousness and personalities on earth, but they live in another dimension. So extraterrestrial means like you might come from a completely different planet or completely different star system or even a different galaxy. Extra-dimensional means that you are vibrating on a different rate. You might still be very much intimately connected with the events and resources and things that are happening here on Earth in this world. Let's talk about lower dimensional beings okay. Actually, because I was about to say about negative lower dimensional beings. You are a lower dimensional being, but you are not a negative one. Everyone that I'm talking to in my class, like I talked a lot about the economy of hell and these different negative thought entities, and all of that is necessary for me to be able to talk about and acknowledge it for the levels of healing. But I also want you to recognize, like, you live in a denser realm and in a denser body here, and you guys are not negative. You are on your journey and you've had your experiences of being denser and in individuation, and now you are moving into levels of being less dense and moving into unity consciousness. You are good. You are what you're supposed to be. So you're a lower dimensional being or a denser being that is going to start having meaningful daily interactions with higher dimensional beings that are less dense. This is partnership. And this is everything that I paint in my paintings. Wait, I'll bring up a paint. I'm squinting, I'm scrolling. Hold on a second. I'll bring up a painting really fast so that I can just show you, because I think that's always worth 1,000 words. Partnership. Okay, wait. And let me also get rid of a few things on my screen here. Partnership is you plus, and it's all you. Actually, everything in this painting over here is all you. It's not like some part of it is you and some part of it is not you. Oh, let me go to my face over here. It's you moving at various different rates. So you have the physical outline in black where I'm showing here's the shoulder and the neck of this person, and that's your physicality structure. And then you also have all of this area of you that is made of pure light. It's made of time. It's made of possibilities and probabilities. And that's also you. There is really no distinction that is made between physicality, self, your cellular somatic structure, and these other levels of being that are your time body. That is your consciousness moving at different rates through time. There's been an artificial separation of your ego versus your light body, but these are absolutely both parts of the same self. When this ego is resolved, when you fly in Rainbow Lasagna and you are able to combine formerly divergent realms, what happens is you talk directly to your energy body. And I'll just make a distinction here too. When I talk about the energy body, I do not envision it or share it with you as an anthropomorphic or human shaped form. I share it with you as these abstractions, as a galactic abstraction. And that's who you really are. And that's what I really look like. And that's what my collective really looks like. And that's what galactic civilization really looks like. So everybody that's stuck on the idea of like an alien face with like, two big eyes or whatever. Like that is at best a trope or a symbol of something that represents alienness, but really that is not what aliens really look like, and that is not who you really are as an alien extraterrestrial or as an extra dimensional. You really are a pure abstraction. Abstraction meaning something that is based in math, in dimensionality, in higher structures that are beyond the physical anthropomorphic. So I do not advocate for the type of imagination realm, which would be considered the astral or the etheric plane. Go back to my face. Astral or etheric plane, where you imagine like, I have a face that looks just like me, but it's in my imagination world and I have 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth there. Like, no, I absolutely do not advocate for that. I advocate for you to have a physical body here and imagine having a physical body here, and then imagine that you have a time-based body that is shaped like chakras that have different colors, and that those are the 2 truthful aspects of self, and that truly everything that is going on in that astral or etheric or imagination realm, I consider to be the stuff that is stuck on the membrane of death, residues of consciousness, thought residues, things that are unhealthy, unhelpful, and need to be healed, and that they need to be resolved, not put extra energy onto the membranes of death. And that's very big. And sometimes when people take a trip, they take a journey, they take mushrooms or ayahuasca or whatever it is like that. Like, again, I don't take those things, but I know that people take them. A lot of the time they're like, I saw a giant hummingbird, but it's like, that is something that is energy coming through your interpretation system. Or I saw a person with 2 arms and 2 legs, and they were carrying a golden staff, and they, blah, 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 and gave me something. And it's like, that is also coming through your human interpretation filter. Human interpretation filter is highly flawed. That is the challenge of doing this. That if you're looking at the world of pure imagination and you're not just seeing pure mathematical forms, what you're perceiving is something that you are interpreting. And when you interpret, there is the possibility of misinterpretation. You're not just getting empirical, abstract information, which is what you should be getting and receiving and sending out. You are getting anthropomorphically interpreted, possibly distorted information, which is why I'm critical of any of the messages that are brought back when people go into an astral or etheric or dream state realm, especially one where they are experiencing a 3rd dimensional reality structure. Like, I was in a room and there was a cat there, and the cat told me this or that. Like, that's all stuff that you're interpreting, not stuff that is actually really there. So the things that I share about your colors, your chakras, the shape of your chakras, the shape of your timelines, and everything that are these proportions that I paint about, that is all empirical information. I feel really, really good and happy sharing it with you because it gives you an accurate view of what the world is really shaped like. So when you begin this partnership between yourself as an individuated ego structure self state with the somatic cellular body and with the higher dimensional selves, you will be talking to pure colors. They are not going to have faces if you do it right. I won't make that prediction for you. If you do what I advocate for you, then you should not be or would not be experiencing things that have faces or 2 arms or 2 legs. Hey, Trish. Trish wants to know, can we consider our abstract form a symbol? I would say it goes beyond a symbol, because a symbol is an analogy, a thing that is like a thing. This abstract form, that is your chakra system, that is this, it's the real thing. So this is not just a symbolic structure of what you are. Like the letter A is a symbolic structure of the sound ah. And then we're like, when we see that letter, we know it points to the sound ah, but this is the actual language. This is not something that is the interpretation system. Like even math, where you have the number 1, the number 2, the number 3. The 3 is just a symbol of something that's, let's hold up 3 things. Thing. That's actually 3, but we write 3 as a symbol, as a shorthand and as a convenience. And the challenge is everybody falls in love with their symbols. They're like, I fall in love with the alphabet and the letter A. I fall in love with the number 3. I fall in love with this interpretation system of whatever you would say, like spirit guides or etheric presences or anthropomorphic beings in the dream state. Fall in love with your characters up there. And at best, they are symbolic structures, but they are things that are training wheels that then you have to release. So when you are actually coming to interact with your higher self state and higher self pure galactic civilizations, they're not going to have one head and two arms and two legs, or even a face with two eyes. And that might be held up like a convenience, like, hi, like here's a mask to tell you that I'm here, that, you know, something is here. But I really would like for you to be able to get beyond that and recognize the validity of your own presence as a pure waveform, and then interact with pure waveforms. And that's the real galactic maturity. You got it? So all of this stuff, that's an invitation and an encouragement to the highest level of what you can go, of what you can do, means you have to level up. Like you have to be like, okay, like I'm willing to let go of my security bear, like my teddy bear. My teddy bear might look like whatever, an ascended master, or like, you know, whatever, a man with a flowing beard, or whatever is your conception of a teacher, a guide, or a religious figure. It might just look like a color. And you're like, how can I love a color? You have to get beyond anthropocentrism or human-centric behavior, because you can love the sun. You can love and learn from the sun. You can love and learn from light directly. And even the planet, you know, we think of the planet as being defined by the continents and the shape of Africa or the shape of North America, but the planet is a presence, a consciousness. So wait, making friends, what I say in my notes here is making friends with and spending time with beings of pure light. And they're actually you. That all of this stuff, you think it is other because you're in your human level, but it is not other. It is self-state, but coming from a different direction and moving at a different speed. So if you were to connect directly to the sun, you would change state. You would be instantaneously vaporized into plasma because it would be too much. This is very big, and I've talked about this a lot. The sense that the energy coming off of the sun and the presence of consciousness there is so strong and profound and intense. It's not just that it's a hot place or like a nuclear furnace where you go up, like, I'm really sweating, like, you know, it's pretty hot here on the sun. It's not just that. It's more like intensity of consciousness. Like the sun is a calculator, for lack of a better word, that is calculating 10 million billion different realities all at the same time, and ready to tell you about all this information and ready to send it all into your brain. You're like, no, it's too much. So it's not just that you would be incinerated from the heat, be like, I'm so hot, like the sun is really incinerating me. You would change state through the overwhelming intensity of the data and the intelligence that is being given to you at 10 million units per unit. All right, like very fast, very huge inundation. If you're a little tiny sprout with new leaves, you can't be out in the middle of the sun. You have to have some shade. You have to be like, I have 1 unit of energy. Don't burn me. So that's it. You have been given this time to be able to learn and grow more leaves, more solar collectors, your spiritual attainment. This is what you've been doing here. You have not been learning Adobe Photoshop. You have been leveling up in your spiritual attainment to get to the point where you can have a direct connection and a direct conversation with the sun and with the stars and with your whole entire star family. So right now, the sun and the stars are up there, out there, beyond. They're a beautiful orchestra. They totally want to talk with you, but they don't want to incinerate you with the huge intensity of everything that they are and everything that they know about. I'm falling off my chair with the intensity here. They know that you're a little baby sprout or a little baby sea turtle. You just hatched out of your egg. You're a new little baby Christ. And they're like, don't incinerate the baby Christs. Give them this much food at a time. And then at a certain point, you'll be ready to eat a giant, whatever, a giant sandwich. But at first you need little tiny meals and a little tiny eyedropper, and that's what you need. So how do you make friends with people who are made from plasma so that they don't incinerate you? And the answer is what we've been doing. You begin to raise your vibration so that you are not vibrating at such a different rate. So everything that's really been going on here, again, has not been about you learning Adobe Photoshop or procuring enough toilet paper or basic resources to stay alive. You have been here on your journey of spiritual attainment to raise your vibration to the point that you can have a conversation with the sun without being incinerated. And also the coherent light family that surrounds you, that those chakras are you, they're light family. They surround you, and they have also been not slowing down, but let's say becoming more present. like they had more of an ethereal presence, purely energetic presence, less of a physicality presence. We've been talking about spirit matter or smatter. So matter has been becoming more spiritual, responding to consciousness more. How about the other direction? What's been happening to spirit or pure consciousness? It has been becoming more solidified. And what that feels like is light that has a coherence, a stick-togetherness to it. And I always joke about good waffles stick together. The light becomes stick-togetherness as opposed to something that is intangible, ephemeral, kind of floats off. It has a staying power. So you become less dense and better able to interact directly with consciousness beings. And consciousness beings become more dense in the sense of being able to have a stick-togetherness of their energy so that it has a coherence. So what I'm coming up with in terms of a spontaneous analogy here, like what's the difference between a dream and reality? You know, in a dream, it is mutable. Everything changes. It's very fluid. So in a dream, you're like, yeah, I dreamed I was like standing there drinking a glass of water. And then all of a sudden in the dream, like the water turned into an elephant. And then I was flying in an airplane. And then I was, in a tree. And there was, a fig, everything changes in an instant. You get it? There is not the sense of coherence and causality and things making sense. In a dream, it's like, first a glass of water, then an elephant, then a fig tree. Then it's like it kind of, to the rational mind, loses meaning and doesn't have the same data and intelligence in it. But when we start to make this coming together of the world of materiality and the world of the functionality that stays, and the world of pure energy, pure dream state, spirit and matter coming together, it means that the physicality of matter becomes more mutable. Matter does change depending upon how you think of it. So the way I think about that with objects, I'm looking for my thing. I'm like, where's that thing? I know that thing is around here. That thing is a thought form, whatever it is. If it's like, where's my lip gloss? I know it's here. It's a thought form. I know it's around here somewhere. It's not just the basic materialism of where did I last put it? Where is it? I have to think about it and know about it and align with it in order to find it. That is also the same in the sense of manifestation. As you are moving into levels of personal empowerment and manifestation and divine co-creation and partnership, it's not just about saying like, I'm going to get a bunch of lumber and then I'm going to build a house like a bunch of sticks and then I'm going to put some paint on top of it. I'm going to live in it like a house. No, your house is created and upheld as a reality structure in consensual reality. It is much, much more than just the sticks and twigs and bricks and paint that the house is made out of. It is made out of your mind. So the physical reality becomes more malleable and directly changeable through conscious thought, especially your body. Your body doesn't just get a muscle because you go like this. It gets a muscle because you're thinking and putting consciousness into it. And now we're getting into what I was telling you about, creating economy, that everyone has looked at economy as a very like causality structure. Like I grow this many potatoes, then I sell this many potatoes for this many dollars. But that is very limited in the sense of causality structure. What's really happening is that you're aligning with realities of abundance. And people do all of this stuff about like vortexes and abundance thinking and all of that. But that in many ways is not respectful cosmic lovemaking and is exploitive. Got to get out of that. If you want to be in galactic society, please get out of exploitation, which is kind of part of human biological dynamics. Like, I want to get sex. I want to get a girl. I want to get sex. I want to get someone pregnant. Like all these things are like very unhealthy. Not to be judgmental of you guys, but you got to recognize you're coming out of profound levels of dysfunction in terms of what should be lovemaking and sharing of gifts, which should be I gift to you and you gift to me and new life comes of that. That's what it should be like. But you're like, Aurora, like that is not what boyfriends or girlfriends are like around here. I'm like, I know, I'm sad to see that that is not what it is like around here. I want you to not take the negative distortions of out of balance biological and social and sexual dynamics and then project that onto your individual relationships with the sun and the stars and galactic society, because none of it is about exploitation. All of it is about gift giving, cosmic love making. I gift this energy to the sun gifts this energy to me, new life comes of it. And none of it is about this kind of quid pro quo. So in the changing reality structure, you think about matter responds to your thought structure. And also, so from one direction, matter is becoming more responsive and less dense. From the other direction, energy is becoming denser and less fluid, because like in a world of pure energy, it's like the quantum state. In the quantum state, like everything is vibrating, everything is happening, everything is possible, everything can happen, anything can happen. We're through the looking glass, everything is crazy. But that is not what is happening. When that becomes more material, then it means that there are fewer options explored, and that there is a greater sense of coherence, that not just anything is happening, not just totality state or random stuff. Things happen for a reason. The dream has coherence. It sticks together like good waffles. So instead of being like, first it was a glass of water, then it was an elephant, it's like, it's a glass of water. It stays a glass of water. And then this is big. We're used to, I had a dream last night, but then I woke up, I opened my eyes and it was gone. But that's not what it's like with my living room. Like I go to sleep at night, my living room is still there. I wake up in the morning and look, like the couch is still there. It didn't just disappear. That's what we take for granted in terms of materiality. When you are moving into these new levels of galactic citizenship, the stuff that you dream is still there. It doesn't just evaporate away. It stays like your couch in your living room. There is a coherency of your non-physical dream state, just as there is a coherency of your physicality structure. So I also write in my notes that the less dense beings, the beings of pure energy and pure light, become slightly more dense, and that they can vibrate at a slightly slower rate, becoming more substantive, and that represents positive empowerment for them, so that both aspects of yourself, you gain empowerment because you become faster and more energetic. Other self states of you get empowerment because they become denser. Dense is not bad. Lower piano notes are not bad. They are denser. They are good. And what this feels like is a meeting of the minds. Are you getting here? Are you getting with me? All right. Earth has been quarantined and cut off from all these beautiful galactic societies. They've been like up here where it's energetic and everything. You've been down here in the density. And when you start to actually become telepathic and come together, it is a meeting of the minds. It is empowerment and love for both of you. Two directions come together to find a new common ground. That is what this new Earth is. It's not just new Earth, it's new galaxy, it's new Earth, it's new solar system, it's new consciousness, it's new time. Again, it's new galaxy. That this is a recalibration, not only of your planet. So again, it's not just about like, let's change our money system, but we're still going to be driving around in cars and buying toilet paper and buying stuff and doing stuff in this way that is totally not the way that galactic society is structured, so that you're down here in these levels of density, and then there's this level of non-density over here, and that you have this huge bifurcation of social dynamics, how resources are used, who has ideas. When you integrate these two levels, what happens is the real, not commodity, but the real gift giving, it's ideas, it's consciousness. I don't want to commodify this, but I will say that this is like a priceless idea. It's a gift. It's my gift. It's my gift that I have to share. I invented it. I thought it. I created it. I created it with my mind. These are physical sculptures of it. Oh, I wanted to say, I'm putting through an order to my 3D print shop. So if you guys want to have little 4-inch models, you can contact me for 4-inch models. I don't always make them, but those are commodities. That's not the idea. The idea is here. It is here, and it is my gift. The commodities cost a certain amount in terms of the paint, and the materials, and the time to be able to make it. So you can contact me if you want a sculpture. But these are two different things. A song, like coming up with a song. You know something really, I'm a really prolific musician. It's no problem at all. Like I come up with a song every day. It's no problem at all. That is just normal for me. Or like if you look at little kids, they're like, blah, 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 dee, da, doo, blueberries. They're like, that was the blueberry song. And they can make a new song any day, 10 million times a day. That is wealth. that is real wealth in the sense of interdimensional and extraterrestrial and galactic civilization interactions. That level of imagination and creative power and creative energy and the capacity to continually come up with new thoughts, new ideas, new ways of doing things, that is real wealth. So when you begin to integrate together the denser level of somatic embodiment and the less dense level of pure energy and consciousness, what is happening between these two levels is a sharing of ideas and creativity and collaboration that is mutually beneficial and in mutual partnership. Really, really different than the sense of like benevolent extraterrestrials, please invade my planet and shower us with trinkets of technology that will help us. Like, that is not what you want. I'm telling you, that is not what you want. Even though I know that you might want, you're in freedom. If you want that, you could do that on a different timeline somewhere else, but that's not the quantum leap. The quantum leap is not externalizing your power and going into maternalism, paternalism, mommy, daddy, in benevolent space race, please come down here and give humanity something like med beds, healing technologies, even though I know that a lot of people are getting these things, but like there's like these little frequency wands and other things that people are using to be able to heal themselves. That's okay. I'm not in judgment of that, but here's the problem. They cost $300. Not everybody has $300. Energy and frequency medicine should not be something that costs any amount of money. It is frequency. It is like a song. Blah, 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 blueberries. That's my song. That is my song. My song is a gift to the world. And so all of this energy and all of this healing, what really should happen is every person should be able to access that frequency food, that frequency healing without intermediaries, because as soon as you create an intermediary, if it is a magic healing wand, something that plugs into the wall, if it is a chamber, get into this healing chamber, if it is a procedure, if it is anything, people put a price tag on it, and then it becomes not accessible to everyone. And if there's basic problems with like people in Malawi being able to have fresh water to drink, like water as a source of life sustenance, and it is commodified, yes, everybody is commodifying this healing energy when it should be something that is given and gifted and shared. But if you say, if I go around sharing my energy, and healing people, and then everybody just feels better, how do they keep my electrons flowing in a wire? These are the real problems. And again, it was supposed to be that by this point, you were supposed to be able to be sustained and supported in your physicality aspect so that you don't have to worry about your food or your rent or your electrons flowing in a wire. Simply share your gifts with the world. So what I am advocating for all of you, let me just drink because again, it's 10,000 degrees here. Share your gifts freely with certain levels of society, not with everyone, because some people are still in exploitation mode. And I really learned this both in terms of time, healing energy, artistic gifts, creative collaborations, even commodifications. Like if I make a product, if I bake a bread, if I make a dress, some people are beautiful galactic citizens. And if I share any of those things with them, they immediately want to reciprocate. They're like, oh, you gave to me, I want to give to you. And then you can be that open and generous with them. Some people are still stuck in the commodification and exploitation situation, and then you can't be that open to them. What you have to do is actively articulate and advocate for yourself, which is setting a boundary, which can be challenging, but you have to say, I will give you this bread and it will cost you this much. I only feel comfortable sharing it with you if you give me this much back. Right? Because if you don't, they'll be like, thank you for that bread. I'll take some more. I'll take some more next week. I'll take 12 more loaves. I'll take 22 more loaves. I'll take 100 more loaves. And you have to be like, that bread actually costs me this much to make, and I need to be able to sustain myself in it. So they're at a different level in terms of recognizing the interconnectivity of resources, co-responsibility, and what it is to give gifts and receive gifts. So for the people that I have beautiful people in my class, so I feel very comfortable with all of you guys, and I've been teaching you and modeling for you what these values are. So I feel very comfortable with doing something like my PDF of my class notes, my book, putting it out there and saying, here's the Dropbox, please download it. I want the information to get out there. I want you to have access to this. This is my gift. I'm sharing it to you. And also, here's my PayPal if you want to gift back to me. And I have had the most beautiful experiences of people gifting back to me. That feels good to me. And that also is something that I know I can, again, be an example or a model of in behaviorally within our tiny little ecosystem of consciousness. The people that are in this class, the people that are my patrons, the people that are operating on that level, and that I've told you about what that level of relationship is like, because there's not even that much judgment on people that are in other levels of exploitation. They're just used to it. It's like coming from the streets. It's like, I'll give you this. I'll give you this. You got $5? Okay, I'll share this with you. Like they're like coming from a very, very small resource level and very much in survival mode. So it's not even that I'm judging people for saying that they are like bad, wrong, exploitive. That's all that they know. And they definitely need to be change their values if they want to level up. So there are many different levels of New Earth that are being created, so that you just recognize you will be shunted onto the time track that you belong upon. Please exemplify that in your behavior. Please be the person that you really want to be. You did not come here in order to exemplify your Adobe Photoshop skills. You did come here to learn on a soul level and demonstrate behaviorally who you are, even in a difficult commodification world. You're going to help other people. You're going to be a person who rises to the challenge. You're going to be a person who gives and reciprocates and exchanges gifts. Or you're going to be a street talking, tough, looking out for number one type of exploiter. Because if you are that, that's okay, and that's your path, and you might have to learn from that. You can't integrate with higher galactic society, which is where we're going into on all of this. All right. Let's talk about newly born Christs. A consciousness shift away from the individual and towards the identity of self as a planet. What's been supposed to be happening for the past 3 years, but has been slightly impeded, but don't cry, has been the awakening of your inner eye, where you're supposed to be able to connect with other people through the heart very easily. Where's my phone? Like, throw your phone out the window. Throw your phone out the window along with your Verizon bill and everything attached to it. You should be able to simply reach out with your mind, the tendril of attention. Reach out with your mind and touch on anyone that you want to talk with. Any friend, like my friend that lives in Taos, New Mexico, be like, I'm going to touch on you with my mind. Let's talk. Instead, like we're texting each other on the phone, and we're doing that because Starlink satellites and Wi-Fi and 5G crackle and all these things have been preventing us from just being purely telepathic. But if we live in a pristine system, I'm telling you, you will not miss your phone or your phone bill, and you'll be able to do everything you do with your phone telepathically, including a sense of a video call or really sensing someone's presence and having very clear direct heart communication and direct sharing. And that Zoom meetings are another good example. I'm not down on Zoom because I love that we use this in order to be able to talk here every week. However, if we no longer had these technological impediments, I would simply live without technology, and I would be able to be connected to all of your minds and send out these ideas that I'm thinking about and that I'm sharing about, and you would feel them and receive them. And then you might be like, oh, Aurora, I just got your information download packet, but I have some questions. What do you think about this, this, and this? Like, there is still conversation in the same way that there is conversation here. It's not only one way. It is definitely reciprocal on all these wonderful levels. That is what we should be experiencing. And that is what Christhood is. And that is also what the next level of the planetary development is. It is called the noosphere, N-O-O, and then the word sphere, S-P-H-E-R-E. It is the total of that which is known. So like the technosphere is the totality of all technology. Biosphere is the totality of all biological life. The noosphere is the totality of all that is known. And that includes the network of Christ connection of all of these different minds coming together. So in previous lessons, I've talked about baby sea turtles, that many, many eggs are laid on a beach. One day they all hatch open. They're all these baby sea turtles, newly hatched Christs. And that what you're trying to do is get across the vulnerability of the open seashore to be able to get to the ocean of consciousness. That is what we are trying to do. And absolutely, we have a stronger journey when we make that soul marathon transition together. And that's what we're trying to do. That what we're trying to do is it makes it easier to get to the ocean of consciousness and to connect to the higher realms of pure energy and pure consciousness when we support and integrate one another. So it's been kind of like the separating out stage for a long amount of time where that you might have felt like I'm losing friendships, or I'm losing business partners, or I'm even losing family members. They are moving shunted onto their reality levels that they need to be on. And love and celebrate them with no attachment, without any irony or bitterness. You can be like, I celebrate you on your journey. Good luck in the direction that you're going. You're going to different destinations. Knowing, like, some people are like ready to run a marathon. They're like, been doing the weightlifting, I'm ready to run the marathon. And some people are like out of shape and they are not ready to run. And there's no condescension on any of this, just a recognition. And love is real acceptance. Heart love is real acceptance. You either have the muscles to run or you don't have the muscles to run. If you don't have the muscles to run, go over there. Reality will take care of you. God will take care of you. You will learn and grow. Those of us who have been doing the marathon training, everyone who's beautiful in this class, I love you, I hug you, and I know that you're ready to run. And so with the creating of the love tone, we bolster one another in that love tone. So that's also like saying the gift giving economy. When I send out I do this class because I love you. I do this class because God tells me to do this class. Got it? Not because I'm like, I gotta make $1. No, but I do Adobe Photoshop for people because I got to make $1. That's different. But sometimes I use it for divinely, mandated projects too. But I've done all sorts of what I would say is secular work, because you guys know sometimes I have to balance it out. Living in this world as you are as well. And that's in solidarity. So I want you to know, as much as I can, I follow my own God connection and my heart connection. And I do the projects that I just know are right and righteous. And I do them because I want to do them. And then what I ask and connect with is for others who are receiving my gifts to send that energy and send gifts back to me. And that we are stronger when we do this for one another. And we're at the point where we are creating micro economies by doing this. And so what that means is if you make almond bread, or if you raise eggs, or whatever physical commodities you make, that you are able to make that and share it with others, and that they are specifically helping and supporting you in your business. You make things that are of value. They help and support you in the things that you are doing. It is a mutually supportive ecosystem, very, very different than the world of the economy of hell and pure commodification and quid pro quo and thing for thing, which is really coming from, that sense of survivalism. Hey, what's in it for me? What are you going to give to me, kid? That kind of tough attitude that is, again, possibly where some consciousnesses are being shunted because they need to learn the lessons of the levels of reciprocity. And that's okay for them to be doing that. It's so funny. The friend I was just talking to you about that I'm telepathically connected to just came in on a notification. It's so funny. That is the way that things happen. So you will also find that is happening more and more. Even though we might be using emails or texts or phones as an intermediary to be able to talk with those that we are connected to through the heart, they will tend to text and come in and notify you when you're thinking of them. So all of this, I want you to be secure in your knowing, faithful in your knowing, that even as you've been impeded from the direct telepathic connection for a little while, that God is still very present and is still connecting all of these people together in the way that we are meant to be connected. So our minds connect together, we begin to share resources, and we begin to support each other. We support each other in love. And that sometimes that means resources like I bake bread for you, you pay me, sometimes it's barter, or sometimes it's money, but then I'm able to go off and buy something from someone else that needs it. Sometimes it's that. Sometimes it is through real heart sharing. Real sustenance, real heart sharing. Sometimes, you do a conversation with someone that is not about a formal session or a formal, uplift ceremony. It is just like you're there connecting in the heart to someone else and helping them in their life. And then when you need help, others are there to connect with you. We support each other on the journey. That is a very big part of this. The baby sea turtles, the newly hatched Christs, support one another on the spiritual journey, because anybody can feel like SHIT. It can happen to any one of us where you feel downtrodden or crap or bad or ill or your faith falters or whatever it is. And then you have others that come along that are like, have some energy, here's some positivity, go in a positive direction. Then when you need it, they are there for you too. The love reciprocity strengthens between these different beings in a group. So that's the level that we've been at for the past couple of years. We've been forming microeconomies and strengthening the love reciprocity of what we do, and practicing as much as possible, as much as it is practical, the gift-giving economy. Let's talk about planetary consciousness, because whenever I share this image, of my famous painting, the Birth of the Flying Rainbow Lasagna, it's about Earth connecting to the sun. That this is not just about Earth randomly transforming in a vacuum in space. And everybody's been really noticing, hey, something, there's a lot of coronal mass ejections coming from the sun. There's tons of solar energy. There's all these things. But energy from the sun is affecting the Earth. The magnetism and aspect of high energy particles and non-physical energy that are coming from the sun are affecting Earth's magnetosphere, Earth's magnetism, Earth's chakra system. And whether it is tilted at an angle, or whether it is destabilized, or whether it starts to transform into Flying Rainbow Lasagna. And I will just reaffirm this for you. Many people are coming from the highly traumatized catastrophe mindset of, we had pole shift in the past, and then everything died, and we had a catastrophe, and then we had to learn how to cook over a campfire. And that was all, hi, Rainbow Body, good to see you. That was all really tough stuff. And that was tough stuff, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen again, because this time when we do pole shift, it's not north-south to south-north. It's not crustal displacement. It's inside to outside and outside to inside, manifesting your dreams. You get it? Your outside world becomes more dreamlike, and your inner world of dreams becomes more solid and more steady. And so we are influencing and positively encouraging one another in the manifestation of our individual and collective dreams. And over the past several years, what you've been supposed to be doing is exploring, what's your dream? You want to learn to play the violin, or you want to start, like I said, a business, or you want to plant a permaculture installation and you have a food forest, or whatever it is, become a dog trainer, just whatever is your dream, living your dream. And once you do it once, you get energized from it. You're like, I had this dream that I really wanted to build this business, and I built it, and there it is. And then I did that thing. And then you're like, well, if I can do that thing, I can do more. That's building the muscles. That's the spiritual weightlifting. And it is also taking radical self-responsibility. I had the inner direct God command. I followed God's command. I did the work. I made the business plan. I planted the trees. Now the trees are there, and everybody's eating the blueberries that come off of the trees that I planted. Like, that is the way it is. And then you're like, if I can do that, I can do more. All of that is the spiritual weightlifting that we have been undergoing for the past several years. Divine partnership between the earth and the sun also becomes divine partnership between the individual and the cosmos. Again, divine partnership. I'm not even going to go into sexual dysfunction. I'm just going to say that it is a beautiful, non-exploitive relationship, a beautiful, heart-centered, gift-giving and gift-receiving. There is no sense of asking for too much. It's not like, God, you better give me this, or like, oh God, I'm so small, like I'm just a lowly sinner and I just want to ask for this and that. It's not any of those things. It is completely asking for what you wish. And also, please be in the knowing that if you ask for something, but you don't even know what to ask for because you're in such a fog, you'll get the thing that you really need. Because you might be like, God, like, just give me a sandwich. Like, I'm so hungry. Like, just give me a nice peanut butter and jelly sandwich. That's all I'm wishing for. And God is like, I know you. I know you want more than just a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but you have an empty belly. So that's what you're wishing for, because that's what it's like when people live hand to mouth and struggle for many years. They're like, just give me a sandwich, but you want much more than that. So when you really are in divine connection with God, the cosmos, the sun, the stars, they know your true self. Your true self is not asking for too much. You've given a lot, you've gifted a lot, you should receive a lot. And asking for freedom is also not too much, because it's a big ask, but it's what is wanted to be asked for, because it is the collective art project of all of us creating that freedom state happening. You have to wish for and want that. It's a big desire. It's even bigger than saying, like, I want to own my own house and plant blueberry trees everywhere. So the sun is the nearest transmitter of cosmic consciousness from the black hole at the center of our Milky Way. And pretty much all of these inner mandates and desires that you have, if you want to plant blueberries or whatever, if you want to paint paintings, it all comes from that central galactic center. That's where you're getting your ideas from. And when you honor that, you are literally living the truth of a much, much larger metabolic being. I already talked about connecting on a purely telepathic level, and I'm going to reiterate, expert star travelers do not require a clank metal spaceship. So all of these, when I talk about connecting with extraterrestrial and extra dimensionals, if they need technology to get out of their dimension or to get to your planet to talk to you, they are not ready to get out of their dimension or get over to your planet to talk to you. Only the ones that are like my Aurora Collective. We travel on pure consciousness, on pure love, on a network that is connected through telepathic love, and that we follow a divine mandate. How do I know where to go as Aurora, the collective? How do I know where to go in the stars? There's lots of stars. There's lots of places to go. It's like if I gave you a free plane ticket to anywheresville on the planet here. Be like, well, there's a lot of places you could go. You could go to Greece. You could go to Australia. You could go to Canada. You could go to Hawaii. Like, these are all places. How do you know where to go? You have to listen to God. And that's also, oh, let me drink more. What I was saying at the beginning of this recording is about birds on their migratory paths. If you follow God and God tells you, like, fly here, go over here, you'll find what you need. Follow, you listen, you find that there's abundant food, you can make your nest, you can take care of your babies very effectively. So it's the same thing with following these inner mandates. If you got this inner sense that you want to start a blueberry farm, start a blueberry farm, and you'll be flying in God is telling you to do that, and you'll be flying in the direction of abundance and sustenance and longevity for your consciousness. And the desires that you have, like if I have a desire to paint a painting, and even if it doesn't seem like a rational thing to do, it's like, that's what I want to do. Know that you will go there and be sustained by going there and doing that. And that is real divine partnership. So your tech that you're using, technology, is not a clank metal technology. It is 100% the biology of your body. You're flying through time using the biology of your body, and it's helping you to stay alive. You can sing the Bee Gees song, staying alive, staying alive. You're staying alive because you are flying on the right timelines. And that is how you really fly through time. That is how you really connect with higher dimensional star presences and travelers like myself outside of time, space, and dimensionality, who go from star system to star system through portals of consciousness using spiritual vehicles. That's me. That's Flying Rainbow Lasagna. I'm here to remind you of this truth and to model or exemplify it for you. And I'm also here to tell you that that is what humanity is being prepared for. That as humans begin to regain extra dimensional connection and dig into the origins of humanity's birthright in terms of what it is like when you're connected to the planet, and what is our planet, and what type of planet you can make when you link up all of your pineal glands or your imaginations, your reality manifesting devices, your anatomy of like, projection of reality. You link up your capacity to create. You got it. Your paintbrushes of your mind are all painting the same reality structure and helping one another. And through unconditional love and divine guidance, you also link up with the planet, because my desire to paint a painting or plant blueberries doesn't just come from the sun and the stars and the galaxy and a black hole somewhere far away. It also comes from the planet. Remember that lady? There's a lady in your lactobacillus on the surface of the lady's face. And she's like, I have my own ideas about what you all should be doing. I'm like, yeah, I want you to paint a painting, and I want you to plant blueberries, and I want you to do this, and I want you to do that. So our planet is a person, and you can actually meet that person and befriend and love and think of them as a family member. And that is what also happens as you begin to awaken your Christ consciousness here. And of course, any cell that would think of harming the planet would not be allowed to continue to exist. If lactobacillus or my own skin cells were like, let's get Aurora, like we hate Aurora, I'd be like, yoink, like you're not allowed to be on my planet. You're not allowed to be on me. You're pathogenic. So we're on these levels of reality splitting. Some pathogenic thought consciousnesses and experiencers are going in other directions because they're thinking unhealthy thoughts. And it's not always as pat as I hate Earth, like I punch you in the face. Sometimes it is a sense of, I just can't imagine a world without money, or I just can't imagine a world without corruption. Those are pathogenic thoughts. Have to imagine a world where you don't require money. You have to imagine a world of cosmic justice and where everything is adjudicated, for lack of a better word, using love and impeccability, and where you get everything that you desire and require. You have to believe in that world. So for a lot of people, the necessary integument is, I could believe in a supercomputer that gives this guy over here, $10,000 because of his charity work, and that, that's like some fairness in that sense, that is a semi-pathological thought. Because what you really should do is say, I believe in God, the divine presence, that through divine intelligence and divine willpower is able to make certain that resources flow to exactly where and whom they need to flow, so that the righteous are rewarded and longevity and coherence are sustained. That is what you really want to think as a healthy cell on Earth, and that is also what Earth needs to feel and think and be sustained in that knowing, in that knowledge. All right. So healing the individual body of each person that lives on the planet and healing the planet herself, these two things are intimately tied and connected. And then we get back to the sense of magic wands, healing frequency wands, med beds, or anything like that. If it's any kind of extraterrestrial technology, or if it's already made its way into terrestrial technology and is being shared in that sense, who gets it? Which cells on Earth's body are going to get healed? Like the shoulders over here have enough money to be able to buy frequency wands. But the guys that live in Malawi over here, like they're barely struggling for clean water, and they don't have the money to be able to pay for frequency wands. But they're all cells on the same body of Earth. How can we make this equity? If you need a thing to heal, it is a thing that should be equitable and open to all humans, and also to dolphins, and also to redwood trees. So my thing that I'm trying to remind you is you shouldn't have to have a magic wand. Because if it's going to cost $300 to get a magic wand, you don't have one for everyone, and not everyone can afford it. That's not fair. And you have to believe in a world of fairness. Go on the quantum leap directly to energy medicine is available to as healing to everyone. Like in your dream, go to sleep at night. In your dream, you have a healing frequency that goes all through you. That you don't need a magic wand, but that you're able to be healed of all the things that you need to heal. So first of all environmental degradation shall be healed. In the sense of, like, if you're like, Aurora, like what? My liver's going to be healed in a dream by a dream frequency? Like, yes, absolutely. And let's relate that also to what's going on in our planet, that there are pollutants and other things that are on our planet. Now we talk about what reduces Christ consciousness and Christ connection. All of those things need to be healed. Atmospheric imbalances, atmospheric pollution, frequency warfare and frequency pollution, taking the symptoms of the disease that our planet has been experiencing and healing our planet. And as you heal your planet, you also benefit from it yourself. Your own body gets healed. Got to get rid of these 5G crapola rays. You got to get rid of the Starlink satellites. You got to get rid of the Bluetooth. You got to get rid of all the frequency warfare that is not only hurting the planet, it's hurting you. It's diminishing Christ consciousness on this planet. It diminishes your cell-to-cell communication. It diminishes the capacity for butterflies and bees to talk to flowers. And that's just one small aspect, insect life and pollination. So for example, all right, cure is not about pills and surgery. I think that's already pretty obvious, and I recorded this 10 years ago. But we're talking about frequency medicine and frequency healing. And then also in the Dark Ages, you know, they had the Black Plague, but they didn't know that it came from garbage and filth, bacteria and fleas. They just thought, like, somebody looked at you bad, then you got the Black Plague. So it takes the knowledge of basic hygiene to recognize that you have to wash your body, wash your hands, clean up your garbage, and you won't have the Black Plague anymore, along with a lot of other diseases that have been part of human history. You also need to recognize the need for energy hygiene. So in the Dark Ages, they couldn't tell that little bacteria existed because they didn't have a microscope yet. They didn't invent the microscope until like whatever the 17 or 1800s. And then they're like, hey, there's these little things that cause disease. Now we can tell where it comes from. Energy is not yet perceived by science. So science doesn't yet recognize that you need to do energy hygiene. But if you're an energy sensitive, frequency-based person, then you recognize you need to do energy hygiene. You need to clean the frequency of the world around you, and that there can be things that are purely energetic aspects that are either technologically based or negative thought entities or unresolved emotional aspects that need to be healed, solved, and fixed in order to have your body be healed. That, for example, the healing of the disease cancer is not merely about pills or surgery. It is really about energy hygiene and taking out the thought structures and superseding the thought structures that give manifestation to the disease. So this is everything that we're talking about that I was talking about 10 years ago that is now much more accepted and recognized, and there is much more integrative health and holistic presence in terms of helping people to be able to be healthy cells in the planet. And we need to continue on in that way. Ancient Atlantis, the Maya, and ancient Egypt all used vibrational healing tools, things like tuning forks, sacred sounds, sacred voice, things that balance out the chakras. Also being aware of chi and life force. These are aspects of healing your body, healing your neighborhoods, healing your social dynamics, healing your animals and your gardens, recognition of what is chi, and rediscovering the cultural heritage of what was wiped out by the amnesia of the trauma when you had the flood or the fall from grace or the death of Atlantis or the genetic flattening. This is a remembering and a reclaiming of all of these that are aspects of your own capacitation that you simply have not had access to for a long amount of time, which is why for some people, they need to believe in a magic wand that you plug into the wall. That's like, then the magic wand will heal me. But you really don't need a magic wand. You really just need the belief, the expertise, the frequency, and the divine connection. But you can use magic wands on your way there. I'm not judging you on that, but I'm telling you that there are inherent flaws to using these levels of technology. So now humanity can use the flying rainbow lasagna to reweave your genes into new patterns and regain your sense of multidimensionality. That is the important, fun, wonderful, good, uplifting, freedom stuff that is happening in this world right now. Humanity returns to perceiving pure energy, using vibration and color and tone as essential for health. You got it? My paintings would be considered like medical equipment. Like you got to stand in front of this painting and get healthy. Like you got to make your environment healthy. And that also relates to sounds that are in your environment. Like my dog hates loud skateboards and motorcycles and stuff like that. And I think she's really onto something. It's not just that it's loud, it's very harmonically dysfunctional. And she's always like, that, turn down that. I hate that sound. We need to surround ourselves with beautiful, harmonically structured sounds that are nourishing. And this is what we used to do in Atlantis. I talk about this a lot. We didn't eat the orchestra, but we ate the frequency that the orchestra emitted. Beautiful plants and animals that surrounded us in beautiful cultivated gardens to give us those vibrations, including crystals. So living plants, living animals like birds and plants that emit sounds, and then also crystals that emit sounds. And being in that environment not only heals you, but it nourishes you. And that's what you do. You live by that nourishment. But again, you don't eat the violins, you don't eat the cellos, you leave the cellos, but you eat their music. You absorb the frequency that comes from these places. So remember, your mind creates reality, and you are to be a co-creator on the Christ network of the reality where you are all regenerated, not through machines, but through natural vibration and higher faculties or superpowers. So this is big. This speaks to the sense of med beds. When I recorded this lesson 10 years ago, I was talking about the capacity to regrow teeth. And then I looked into if there's been any progress on that in terms of the front of dental science. Not that much over the past 10 years, even though 10 years ago, there was a lot of excitement in the sense of having a tooth bud or the stem cells in your jaw and being able to stimulate that with frequency in order to then grow a new tooth. And that is something that you will be able to do even without anything being like grown in a petri dish or implanted as a stem cell or any kind of technological intervention. Really, really, really trying to get this across to you. And it might be hard, but tune in on this radio broadcast of like this reality broadcast of what I'm telling you. When you are truly in this divine alignment, in these levels of partnership, not only like you don't need to use money and you don't need to use a magic tool to be able to heal you, but you will be able to regenerate teeth that are missing. Let's say your gallbladder got taken out surgically or something was removed surgically, or that you have a congenital defect, or that you had a broken leg, or that you had something implanted in your spine like a metal rod. All of those things will be able to be healed and regenerated. You will be able to what would be considered magical, almost unimaginable levels of healing and regeneration without surgical intervention and without the need for a technological intervention. It would be considered supernatural. It would be considered a miracle. This is the definition of the energy and value from God coming to you, but not through a quantum financial system. Because even if you have $35,000 in the bank, that might seem like, hooray, freedom. But is it going to regenerate your gallbladder or bring back your eyesight or your teeth or something like that that has been lost or degraded? And the answer is no, because those things cannot be bought in stores. But what you really want is the freedom to be able to regenerate your body. You want something more than a sandwich in your wish making with God. You want to wish for something more than a sandwich, but you're like, I'm so hungry. Like, just give me a sandwich and then just fix up this stuff that needs to get fixed up. Please go for the highest realities you possibly can imagine. So remember, your mind creates reality, and you are a co-creator on the Christ network. What you really need to heal from are toxic mental programs, which are a lot of these pathogenic programs about limitations, about who you really can be, who you really are allowed to be, what is really possible. So this is so much more about moving beyond the sense of money and commodification, and moving, and also the manifestation of tiny screws, as we joke about in this class, like Angel manifesting her wheelbarrow, I'm manifesting my tiny screws. That's great. How about somebody's got a problem with their aorta? Instead of manifesting a tiny screw, can they manifest fresh, healing and corrective tissue going to their aorta so they don't have an aneurysm, their heart doesn't explode, they don't die? Can you do that without the intervention of surgery or some other kind of magic wand or something like that? That is what I am talking about, moving into those levels of profound healing that would be considered miraculous, supernatural, impossible to the rational or pathogenically implanted thought structure, but which are your birthright. And that I'm telling you also that this world is considered barbarian medicine compared to like ancient Egypt or some other finer cultures where they would never cut open your chest to be like, fix your aorta or something like that. They would use something else, a different way of fixing your chest than to say we have to like violence you and cut open your ribs and then fix something and then sew you back up and you have to get back all together from it. Blah, 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 a critical mass is being achieved. A network of us working on unconditional love. We strengthen one another's signal, I already said that, and then we reciprocate. And we are linked beings, and we're way more impervious to intruder negative thoughts than as individuals. So that's big. If you're just sitting on a mountaintop and you don't have a social network of support and no telepathic Christ beings around you, you can be open to self-doubt and other like falter. You can falter on your flight. But when you're in a marathon, you're running the marathon together, someone up ahead can be like, hey, watch out, don't fall off that cliff over there. Or if you're flagging and getting tired, someone else can be like, hey, I believe in you. Keep going on your journey. And then you can share resources like food and water and different important things like that. All of that is huge on the journey. So negative thought entities are these pathogens that are basically what prevent humans from running the marathon effectively, prevent humans from believing in yourselves effectively in terms of profound healing and profound sustenance. And we can all look to stories of avatars, of those who have done profound healing and profound sustenance in what would be considered miraculous or supernatural ways, like saints or yogis or masters who sustain themselves on either pure light or on minimal amounts of food, and or who perform profound healings on themselves or others, and or who manifested items either out of nothing or manifested and made more of something that was already in existence. So some of these yogis and masters, like they open their hand, there's jewels there. Open their hand, there's ashes or some sacred substance there. So sometimes it was out of nothingness, but sometimes it was like the story of Jesus. He took some fish and some bread, and then he magnified it and made it into many, 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 enough to feed a whole lot of people. This is what we're talking about. These types of supernatural manifestation abilities that have been spoken about as miracles that only a few select individuals have done through human history will become something that is natural for all of you to experience as you all are becoming natural masters, ascending, highly cultivated experts and virtuosos of what you can do with frequency and what you can do in terms of healing your own bodies, because taking care of one another and healing this planet. You got it? This is the real mind food is like, you can tell I'm looking for the right words, sustenance, the real mind sustenance that I'm giving to you guys. tune in on this reality, tune in on that reality. Your body is the only technology that you need. You don't fly in a metal spaceship. First, you learn these lessons of augmentation and sustenance that do not involve technology or money while you are here on the surface of the planet. And then what's the end result and the goal? And I'm kind of getting into the end of my notes here. The end result of the goal is coming together like a symphony and being able to untether from the planet, no longer requiring physicality food in order to sustain you. That means you don't have to grow your spinach and your tomatoes in space on a giant space ark. You are able to eat nothing but sunlight. And what does Aurora Collective do? Like, I do not have to have a spaceship around me, but I do have many others that are part of my collective, or I define everyone who's in my collective as self, not as other. So it is when you are so intimately connected, like my elbow is connected to the needs of my shoulder, to the needs of my heart. These things are not separate anymore. Your mitochondria are in your cellular structure. They are not separate from who you are. Everybody needs to be taken care of. In my consciousness collective, everybody identifies with everybody else, and we are mutually, reciprocally self-sustaining one another, in recognizing that the heart is essential, and the elbow is essential, and the big toe is essential, and the nostril is essential, and everything has to do its part and do what it is supposed to do. So this relates to here now. Like, if you're a musician or an artist, you're essential. You're not disposable. Like, your big toe is not disposable. We need artists and musicians. And we also need engineers and blueberry farmers and all of these different things. Follow your innate mandate and recognize that everybody has gifts to give. And then you recognize and celebrate those gifts. People might also be impractical. Let's talk about someone who might be special needs or developmentally disabled. They make their contribution. They have their gifts. They might not do anything that might be considered commodified within a traditional quid pro quo economy, and yet their presence matters. So I'm very big on that. That's the piccolos in the symphony as much as the tubas in the symphony, a celebration of all of these different types of consciousnesses, types of perception, ability levels, very big there. Even though the healing is real and the healing is profound, this is a celebration of all of these different types of ability levels, not just the super athletes, but then everyone else who is also on journeys of healing or might have frailties or difficulties and might need to be supported by the other people. And let's also talk about mental muscles. Maybe not everybody has the same mental capacities. Maybe some people need to be helped and supported in their mental voyage as, being a vulnerable citizen. You take care of your vulnerable citizens, not just for something that is, completely healed and completely perfect. So kicking out the negative thought entities means that all of a sudden humanity broadcasting from your pineal glands, you're creating the reality that humans want, not what the entity invaders want. And that's big, because if I give you the magical wish making, like rub Aladdin's lamp, and you've got a lot of negative entities that are in your pineal gland, they're going to be like, hooray, I'm going to hijack that wish. I'm going to make you wish for money. And then I'm going to make you I'm going to tax your money. I'm the government. I want you to wish for more government. Seriously. Like, do you want to wish for the next election? Do you want to wish for the next puppet that is on a podium that says, listen to me, I'm in charge? Like, no. But negative thought entities and parasitic consciousnesses want you to wish for that. They're like, hooray, I'm going to invade your mind. You're going to wish with Aladdin's lamp, and you're going to wish more government or more religion or more taxes, like more of any of these disempowerment networks. You don't want to wish for any of those things. So a big aspect of this is do the ongoing clearing and cleansing of reclaiming your sovereignty and picking out the entities. Recognize the implantations of desires and thought structures that are pathogenic, that do not arise from you. It's not the real you making those wishes. Got it? And also God knows your heart. God and the cosmos knows your true heart and knows what you're truly wishing for. So when you're wishing for government or a better president or whatever, you might be wishing for stability so that there are not wars, so that there is peace. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you want to wish, like, I wish this guy will get into office. Like, no, you don't necessarily want that. What you want is a world of profound self-responsibility. So this also has to do with creating the world that humans want, not the world that the entity invaders want you to create. So you have to claim your sovereignty and be like, this is what I want in my life, in my body, and on my planet. I want to kick out all the parasites, want to kick out all the pathogens. And then in doing so, that makes you available to be true, loving, telepathic partners with the non-earthly entities that are actually your star ancestors, your coherent family of light. And none of it is where they're kind of saying like, oh, like, no, you guys stink. Like, you have to stay away. You're not ready to be with us. You have to stay away. None of it is condescension at all. They've actually been trying, like clawing. They've been clawing at reality to try to get energy and information through to us. And then we've had these parasitic mind consciousnesses that have been preventing us from receiving the gifts that they're showering, our true family is showering upon us. So please know and align to that. It's not like they're like, oh, you're not ready to be at the cosmic party. You're not good enough. You are good enough. You are worthy and you are loved. And we've had a lot of crapola on the line. So that this is about opening quarantine and having overt presences and overt interactivity between extraterrestrial and extra-dimensional. And also part of what needs to be healed is the sense of specialness, because you might see this on the internet too. Someone's like, galactic command visits me every night in my dreams, and the Ashtar command or the Alliance or the this or the Pleiadians or the Arcturians or the this or that, a lot of specialness. People have their ego vulnerabilities where they are told like, you're special and the aliens are talking to you and you're this and you're that. And that is, it speaks to a lot of condescensionism where you're saying like, I'm better than others or I look down upon others. And so that has to be healed in order to be able to have this equity type of relationship of interacting with all of these amazing, pure, coherent light form, family, non-physical presences. Okay, and yeah, going past the speed of light. That this is, I don't know if this is even relevant anymore, but you know, the idea of Einstein and the speed of light and the inherent blockades and quarantines that have been a part of human scientific thought that also relates to human, like lay people or non-highly trained people, that you think that there is a bubble of limitation of how fast you can go. There's actually no bubble of limitation. So that is a consciousness grid. It is a limiting thought factor. And it also relates to some of these implantations or pathogenic thought structures that are not truthful to who and what you really are. So the opening of the psychic grid is really this belief in being able to transcend the speed of light, flying rainbow lasagna, fold the fabric of space, time, and consciousness, connect to the singularity that is within the sun or the stars or any place. It is allowing you to connect beyond the vibrational plane of Earth, as well as physically in far distant connections that change on a big level. So that's so on one sense, connecting beyond the vibrational plane of Earth, the density plane of mundane reality where you drive your car and eat food and drink water, okay? But then there's also this sense of connecting from this star system to a far distant star system. So going beyond physicality, going into interdimensionality, multidimensionality, and also going beyond who is in the neighborhood. And then we also talk about when you go through the singularity, you enter into an age of complete novelty. And that's actually what we're in right now, that we have been through the singularity. We have gone up to that convergence point moment, and that you actually are in this moment of pure potential, going beyond what is expected. Like in the singularity, when the fabric of space, time, and consciousness is stretched to an infinite point, the laws that uphold the physical world become meaningless and nonsensical, because many of the answers to those equations become infinity. When you are behaviorally through the singularity point, what happens is a lot of the limitations of what you define as possible or not possible in reality become no longer relevant. So you become able to completely redefine what is matter, what is healing, what is to be embodied, who are you, where are you coming from, how do you fly through time, what is time travel? Because time travel is not even like get into your H.G. Wells time machine, push a lever and you go forward, pull back a lever and you go back in time. Time machine is flying rainbow lasagna. I anchor my body here now in this moment, and I send out vibrating time tendrils into all of these different various places, even while my body is here. How experts do time travel, okay? So moving into these levels of inner perfection If you are emanating pathogenic thoughts, you can't be on the body of Earth that is the ascended Earth, because just as we have a time structure like this, where you have the versions of you that die by going at an angle, and then the versions of you that have coherent longevity by going up the central core timeline, those central versions of self align with Earth's central version of self. She has aspects of self, Earth has aspects of self that died through catastrophe. Nuclear war, or a comet hit the planet, or whatever happened, destabilized Earth on her axis, and then that was like Earth hitting the membrane of death. But congratulations, we are not on any of those timelines. We are on the alive timelines, where we're part of this Earth that is the Earth that survived. Didn't have a nuclear war, didn't have a bunch of comets, hit, no lava storms, none of this other stuff. So you have to kind of be in that knowing and be secure that you're on the ascension timeline for yourself and for the planet. And that means that you can't be around people or pathogenic thought forms that don't uphold that. You can only be around, in positive language, healthy thought forms that uphold the sense of being alive and maintaining your life and not dying. So the only version of Earth that survived is the one where there is the galactic partnership and the joining of higher and lower self. That is what you are on right now. And it takes as long as it takes. It's not like something that happens like by next Tuesday. So Earth's time, I talked about Earth's time vortex. We have had many different cataclysms and explosions. We did not die. We did not lose our physical bodies, and we are on Earth's infinity or ascension timeline. So you have hopped timelines with Earth many, many, many times. And everything that's going on with the sun, there's like a new X flare, a new CME, a new emission of energy. These are all literally part of Earth getting into alignment so that Earth stays alive. And then you also stay alive as part of the planetary structure staying alive. So new Earth technology is no longer separate from self. We would even not maybe necessarily call it technology, but it's in air quotes, powered by unconditional love. It's not a separate accoutrement or accessory that you use. It's a part of you. It's part of your spirit. It's part of your body, like regeneration. Flying your lasagna is inseparable from me. It is not a machine that exists outside of me, that I get into my flying lasagna machine every day. It is me. And I share this concept with you so that you can also embody it and become it also. So the technology is you, it's your imagination, it's your inner creativity, and not putting your power in a machine. Again, the negative and pathogenic thought forms, what they do as a culture and what they have wanted to implant in you is the sense of disempowerment through genetic degradation. Then you have to build a magic box, and you can do everything you need to do with your magic box. Computer. But you don't need a computer in order to do magic stuff. You have the computer in your being and in the connection to the sun and the stars, that everything is there. Your emanations are what is creating reality. I talked about historical avatars who have performed miracles and supernatural acts. And this also includes things like astral travel. You won't have to fly in a plane anymore. You won't want to. Bilocation, seeing beyond merely the physical eyes. I already talked about manifesting something that either that isn't there, or making more of what is there, profound levels of healing, and singing events into being. Sacred use of our voices, sacred use of song. And that they did not use technology, and they used their inner divine potential, and that is what we also shall use and what we are remembering and returning to. Forming an extra dimensional group Merkaba that will at a certain point no longer be tethered to the physical presence of the planet. So again, in the recognition of the virtuousness and the weightlifting that each one of us is doing of spiritual attainment while we are here as individuals, we also are coming together as a group and as a collective. Like everyone who's in my class, everyone who's on my Patreon, everyone who are these spiritual seekers, sometimes they might be in a different country speaking a different language, so we don't know them with our words, but we know them with our souls. There's a lot of us here on this planet, and we are coming together in the sense of creating a higher dimensional group Merkaba, a vessel for traveling through time. We are creating and forging, not forging like false, but like making strong, like metal is made strong. We're making strong these bonds and these connections while we are here in matter, in the mother, being gestating. And at a certain point, we will no longer be in matter, planet, mother, mama, matter. We will transcend and go into a different self state with all of these amazing aspects of self, reciprocally supporting one another, independent of a planet. You will not need the plants of the planet. You will eat pure sunlight. You will eat pure starlight. You will no longer need anything. You become solar powered. I wanted to say you will no longer need any of the physical things, but you will need light. So it's not like you don't eat nothing. You don't eat anything. Let me speak better. You do eat. You eat light. You do have needs. You have the need of light. What you don't need is a crystal. What you don't need is a garden. What you don't need are the things that have sustained you while you've been in the physicality presence. So those things are relevant to the physical material world, that as we transcend the physical material world, we are untethered, and then we eat pure information and data from the sun and the stars. And you can travel from star system to star system with your group. Again, like me, Aurora, when I travel from star system to star system, I'm not like one tiny little thing going along through this thing. Like, no, we're actually like a giant floating collective that is a symphony of life that is like time acrobats, backbending and catching one another and jumping and telepathically being connected, sharing, sending energy out, receiving energy. It's a network. It's a network that runs on unconditional love. And it's a large biological entity that is made up of smaller biological entities that travels from star system to star system. That's what my collective is. That's where I come from. That's what I'm here informing you of, telling you about it, inviting you to align with those realities. You need to know what freedom is. So I'm here as a planetary protector, a guardian. Like when I first came in as Aurora, I was very much about like, I'm an artist, a musician, I'm a sharer, I'm teaching about all of these things. And I've definitely become more in my guardian role of saying like, you know something, how can you get to freedom if you don't even know what freedom is? Like, how can you know that you want to eat whatever, some wonderful flavor like strawberries? You have never eaten one. If you don't even know what they taste like, how can you align to that energy signature? So a part of what I do here as being a guardian is just giving you that real taste. Like, what is the real taste of freedom? What is it? What does it feel like? What, sorry, Cheeky, could she hear someone inside? Cheeky, you're okay, girl. You're what does freedom really feel like? What does freedom really taste like? And that gives you the opportunity to then find that signal and go in that direction, because you have to follow your own innate divine mandate. And then when you do that, that's not the end of your journey at all, but a continuation of the journey. You came from the source, which is the singularity, and you're traveling back to the source, and you're on an endless journey, but also a journey of refinement. So when you leave Earth in a giant floating Merkaba light ship, you will enter into another realm. And when you will learn more lessons and evolve into an even higher state. That's where I came from as Aurora immediately before walking into this body. And then even when you reach the source, it's not the end of the journey. It becomes a new world that is created after that. So that is the completion of this teaching cycle. Like that is, up to lesson 20 and whatever recorded 10 years ago. And then, so of course, I want to just say like a huge thank you, a profound gratitude for everyone that's been on the journey with me for this past year and going through so much personal growth and so much changing and upgrading of your viewpoint and validation of new thought structures and aligning with that taste of freedom that I'm offering to you. Like, this is the energy signature of freedom. Please go in this direction. Or I offer it to you. I encourage you to, if it wasn't offered and known, how could you even find it? Especially when it is very foggy and there are so many competing voices, and then sometimes great malevolencies that are trying to confuse you or hold you back. So I'm here, like I said, in guardian mode to be able to say, you guys need to know about this, and don't spend your wishes on wishing halfway. Don't wish yourself halfway to freedom. Wish yourself fully all the way to freedom. So profound thanks and gratitude for everyone that has been running this marathon with me, for your own efforts at healing yourself, for your own efforts at healing your social dynamic, family collectives, ancestral lineages. I think you've been doing an amazing job. And also, I love and appreciate so much what we have built in terms of reciprocal, positive, mutually supportive energy structures of I love inspiring and uplifting other people. And then people write the most amazing comments back to me. They're like, Aurora, I love your lessons, or Aurora, you made me feel this way, or you inspired me in this way. And then that's all of that energy coming back to me. I love it. I absolutely love it. So I love playing music for you. And then I love the appreciation of the audience. And then I also love it if I'm down and others lift me up. I love you. I love that. I appreciate that profoundly. And then sometimes I'm strong for others. That is what this is really all about. So what I want to do right now, I know this is, I always say it's going to be a short recording, but it's always so much. This should also be a celebration and a sharing. If anybody who's here, who's tuned in right now, would like to take a time to unmute themselves and talk about their own viewpoint, their own journey, or just share anything, or if there are any questions or Q&A or anything like that, I'm very open to that. It's a perfect time if you want to celebrate, be silly, because also I am about lightheartedness, and that is also part of the energy signature of freedom. And also people can say, there can be ask me anything, there can be Q&A also in the comments that people are tuning in with for this class. And then what I might, so feel unmute, full freedom now to be able to do that. And thank you for giving me so many hours of me being able to share what I needed to say today, moving into next semester. So as I'm looking at my calendar right now, I'm going to start immediately with the, let's say the week of the 14th. I want to actually start on the 14th. Which is a Wednesday. I want to switch webinars to Wednesdays, which is where I've done it in the past, and I kind of like it as Wednesdays. And I switched it to Saturdays in order to accommodate secular work, and I found that it wasn't as easy for as many people to do weekends. So I am saying, if you want to be a part of next semester, first of all, and you are on my mailing list, you don't have to do anything. If you're on my mailing list and you don't want to be a part of next semester, just reply, please remove me from your list. And I'm so happy to do so. And of course, like there is only celebration of whatever are your needs or requirements. And if you want to be in the class formally and you are not yet in the class formally, I love you, I hug you. You can do it through Patreon, being a $25 a month contributor, subscriber, or you can do it by accessing any of the classes that like enroll via Teachable. And if you need scholarships, you can do scholarships. Because again, like I'm doing this as gift giving and gift receiving. I'm very open to scholarships and alternative forms of energy. And I've had people pay me by sending me crystals, and I love those crystals. So you can do all sorts of weird and unusual things. What matters the most is I want you to learn, I want you to grow, I want you to be a baby sea turtle connecting with the other baby sea turtles and envisioning the most amazing freedom and expansive levels of new earth that we possibly can, because that is also a sense of great wealth that I receive when you are in your envisionment and in your empowerment, making this beautiful sculpture along with me. So I profoundly invite you and encourage you. So please tell me, if we can do Wednesdays, you know, I'm Pacific time, I would like to do Wednesdays 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. So I'm open to your feedback and comments. I'm also open to your feedback and emails. I'm also open to sharing and other aspects of anything that you think that I can improve or that you would like to know more about in class, and also sharing about your own private journeys in terms of what you've learned here or how you've applied it to your life. And if you've done level 1, now is the perfect time to do level 2. And when you are in my class, you don't have to continually re-enroll. Like consider yourselves perennial or perma-enrolled. If you've been in any other semester over the past 9 years, you are continually welcome and invited to come back and to return. And also please do share, spread the word with others that you feel that can benefit from this or have an interest in this. And as always, it's a sharing or a gift giving, because it's appropriate for wherever you are on your journey. So I recognize not everybody's at the same place in their journey. Feel free to unmute, to talk, share. And I love our beautiful international, we have people from so many different countries that tune in. So my heart is with all of you on all of the journeys literally around our whole entire planet. Anybody questions or comments? And you can also, if you want to, we can just have our party after I close out the recording if you just don't want to share it too publicly, but you are also invited, encouraged, anything you would like to say or share for the recording. Everybody's so shy. Okay. Then I'm going to end the recording so that anything that is said after class will not necessarily be a part of the archive, but profound love and thanks and appreciation for everybody who's in this class, and definitely for the people that catch it as a recording, because I know not everybody can be here. Tell me if Wednesdays are going to be good. And then we look forward to beginning again September 14th at class lesson number 1. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you.